Welcome
guys.
to the Play Podcast. We are the hosts of this podcast as I have dust on my mic. That's weird.
Fun.
We are here. Another year has passed, folks.
Somehow.
Another 360. Was it 366 or 65 this year? 66, right? It was a leap
You're
year
the
this
guy
year.
who always knows these things.
I do not
I feel like it
know.
was a leap year this year. Anyways, we'll get IT on that. 365 plus, we'll say, just in case. Throw it out there. We are here to celebrate the.
It was a leap year.
I knew it. I knew it.
Damn.
We are here to celebrate a year of movies, a year of television, a year of books, a year of games, a year of music. There's
Just
going to be
say-
a lot to
You can
celebrate.
say media.
No, list
Trying
them
to
out.
Podcast, guys. Let me talk. Jesus. A year of many things to celebrate. And so, yeah, welcome. This is your first time doing one of our yearly recaps. James, this is you and I's third.
Nice.
21, 22, 23. No, this is our fourth together.
Nice.
Claire, you weren't with us last year.
No, I
Or
was.
maybe
I
you
was on
were.
the- I was on
Yeah,
the
you were still
23rd, yeah.
part-time. We hadn't brought you on full-time yet.
Yeah, I wasn't full time yet.
Yeah. So,
Back in the good old days.
welcome to your second one.
Yeah.
Anybody have any quick thoughts on 2024 as a whole? Kind of a whack year compared to 23.
I was
And
gonna say, really,
I think I mentioned that at the end of the 23 pod. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not excited for 24.
Yeah, I think you're right. At the end of 23, I think we were like, it's not going to be like the best year for stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think the year just also did a lot of really crazy shit this year, just in general, in life.
Yep.
We didn't have a lot of movies to look forward to.
No.
And then things just got worse from there.
Yeah.
But it does feel like the actual ending of a year.
Mm-hmm.
Most other years for me, I'm the cynical guy who just says
Yeah, we
it's
know.
just another day.
Yeah.
It's another number.
Yeah.
Another day, another dollar.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it actually does feel like something is ending, you
Yeah.
know, with 2024.
My sanity.
Yes.
Some would say.
My sanity.
Some would say.
How has it been on the podcast now that you are full time?
Seasonal employee.
Seasonal.
Get
Seasonal
me out.
all year round.
Guys, they keep me here. I can't leave.
I mean, we've showed you plenty of movies this year.
No, yeah, it's fun, you know. Yeah, I just like talking with you guys.
A lot of directors
Yeah.
that we've introduced you to.
A lot of actors
Lot
who
of
you've learned the
actors.
names
A
of.
lot of actors.
We've
I-
started to
no,
emphasize the importance of remembering the names that are actually shown on the title cards.
I already don't.
You don't still, but we've stressed it more and more every episode.
You realize I have to keep a level of stupid indifference, or else my position as
I mean,
the
you
layman.
can be stupid and still be educated like me.
Yeah, me.
Yeah, but that's your role. My role is just being stupid.
What's my role?
You're our control group.
The intelligent one.
If I'm the intelligent person in this group, we have
listen,
something wrong.
We got dumb, dumber, dumbest. All right, that's how this works.
I like that.
For audio listeners, I pointed at James, Isaac, then myself.
Perfect. I feel like that's a pretty good
Yeah,
encapsulation
I feel like
of
that's it.
what we are.
I feel like, if anything, the first 5 or so minutes of this pod has really captured how this pod works. Isaac, you yelled at us for making jokes while you were trying to podcast.
Well, I mean, I was trying to intro the pod.
And then I pointed out that we're dumb, dumb, and dumbest.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get to the movies of the year. We
Been a good year.
reviewed a lot of movies together. Some of them good. Some of them not so good.
Some of
worst
them
good.
fantastic.
Some of them pretty good. Some of them pretty not so good. So we're just going to do a quick run through of all the movies we reviewed together. If you want to go watch those, please do watch them on your own time in terms of us breaking it down in depth and in detail.
Yeah.
Hit
Hit the
but
pause
for right
button.
now, right now we'll just do like a quick pie chart. Not pie chart. Excel sheet. I don't know why I said pie chart. I don't know. I think I'm hungry. Just a quick rundown of where everything ranks in terms of us. So James, me and you started out. Well, there was one movie.
There was one movie.
There was one
was
giant
one
movie, that at the request of James we should go watch immediately, which me and Claire did almost, I think, like the day after we
yeah,
recorded that
it was
podcast.
really close, yeah.
And that is, of course, Godzilla -1.
My number 2 from last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is what I think led me to be like, or no, actually, it was you coming home from the theater and immediately going to my room and being like, by the way, first off, James never comes into my room, like, ever. so it was when he walked into my room, I was like, "Oh, this is something important." And then you were like, "Go watch Godzilla." And I was like, "Shit, I guess I gotta go watch Godzilla."
And then we recorded the end of the year podcast
Yeah.
the next day.
Yeah.
And I knew immediately it was going to be in my number 2.
And then I think we saw it.
I think that same week. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like a couple days
because it was
after.
like right before the end of the year. Is
Because
that or
James
just
had
I was
already
out of
left
town.
for like James already left for
Yeah.
the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Quick.
How's it hold up? All this
It's,
all this
I
time
mean, it's
later.
still good.
Yeah, it's still. I mean, it's still an absolute banger, and it's just like it's got everything you could ever want. It's got
Yeah.
really good characters. It's got really good sound design. It's got really good, like atmosphere, set design, etc. The story's phenomenal. It's got a big fucking monster. What more could you want in anything, really?
Some would say this is the movie of all time.
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would argue that it is the definition of peak. We're not going to top it until they make Godzilla -2.
I mean, are you putting it at your number 1 spot right now?
it's in my top 5.
Yeah, it's
in your
definitely up
top
there.
5? Yeah.
I would say top 5.
It's
We
not-
watched a lot of movies this
That's
year.
true.
Okay. In terms of movies, yes, I think it's probably my top 5 or my top number 1. In terms of stuff that I've consumed this year, it is not.
Oh well, yeah. We
Yeah.
rank them each category.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I have. Anyway.
So it's all S tier for us, though, right? Like
Yeah.
SS.
Oh,
triple S.
absolutely.
It's,
Yeah.
it might be S plus. Yeah, I was gonna say. Whatever our highest
It's a
ranking can
perfect
be,
score.
Yeah.
It's a 5 out of 5.
No,
Yeah.
all this time later, if you have not seen Godzilla -1,
What are you
guys,
doing?
Have you guys seen it in black and white? Godzilla -1 minus color.
No.
Would you go see it?
sure.
Just
Just to
I think
see it
it's
again.
on Netflix.
I
I
was
think
gonna
it's on
say,
Netflix.
Just to see it again. By all means.
It's like being like, do you want to take the next breath you take? Like, of course.
all right, calm down there. It's only a film.
I would say it's only a film.
You're talking to the two people who consume one piece of media and make it their personality.
Dude,
for
I
6
love One
weeks.
Piece. Yeah.
Yeah, so Godzilla -1. Haven't seen it. Go see it. Great
Absolutely.
movie. It's definitely in my top 5, which I think I said that podcast. I was like, yeah, this is gonna be one of my favorite
Yeah,
movies. Of
we both
2024.
were like, it's gonna be like number 1.
And we watched it in December of 2020.
Yeah.
That's how bleak we knew 2024 was gonna be.
Yeah.
and we were right.
Anyways, moving on. We watched a lot of Denis Villeneuve's movies, which we won't get into too much detail.
We
A,
did.
because Claire was there, and B, because it's 10 movies.
Yeah.
Some standouts for you, James?
Polytech
Yeah.
or Polytechnic, and the one that came after this, Maelstrom.
Maelstrom was first.
Maelstrom was first, and then he did Polytechnic.
And then it was
And
Incendies.
Incendies.
Yeah.
Incendies, yes.
Yeah.
Of those 3, Incendies is the biggest standout, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That is, of the ones I hadn't seen before.
Mhm.
Sicario, Prisoners, Enemy, love all those movies. Not really gonna worth ranking them compared to the things that came out this year because they would be
Yeah.
above all of them. But Incendies was the biggest standout in terms of early Denis Villeneuve work. But it's more so like early promise than it is like his masterpiece,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Because
Like,
he's still a rough,
yeah.
you could tell he's still a rough filmmaker.
And
And he's
I've-
still finding his way, but it's cool because you see
The
the
techniques.
glimpse of what he's gonna become.
I think we had mentioned that in our review.
I
of
thought it was really fun to go back and watch his older movies.
and lots of Radiohead used in
Lots
that
of
movie.
Radiohead.
so
He's a big
I appreciate
Radiohead
it.
fan. He's a big Radiohead fan.
Brings those movies up at least 2 to 3 points. for James.
Denis Villeneuve uses a lot of Radiohead in his movies. It's
Yeah.
actually pretty consistent.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that would be the standout among those. What about you?
Yeah. No, I mean, other than all the Americans, the only one that I hadn't seen that I was really, really excited to see was Prisoners.
Yes.
Because I had heard so much about it, and I was like, it was one of those movies where you're like, yeah, that makes sense why people like it so much.
Yeah.
It's just one of those movies that makes you feel gross, but also like
It's raw.
so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, go watch all those reviews.
Yeah.
That we did like 3 episodes.
It was a
think-
lot. You guys talked about them a lot.
I think we did like 3 hour and a half episodes.
Yeah.
About those movies. So go watch all those. But then to finish out Denny, we had you come on to watch Dune, the 1st one.
First time I'd seen Dune.
You had read the book
I'd read the book.
not many times, right?
Not many times, just the one time.
Just the one time.
It was many years ago.
But you had seen the movie for the first time.
I saw the movie for the first time.
How was it for you?
I remember being, pretty impressed and being like, wow, I feel like that was a pretty good adaptation.
Mhm.
And just I was just like, yeah. I don't remember. I don't think I ever had like criticism. I might have had like 1 or 2 things. I think that
Well,
Can't
yeah,
remember.
of course. It's
I'm trying to remember that. I think, but I was like, for the most part, I was like, that was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And then they made a second one,
Mm-hmm.
and it was pretty damn good.
It was. Some would say.
It was interesting, but
Yeah, I mean those movies are S tiers for me. I think I
Yeah.
said that on the pod
because I think they're right next to each other on the list.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, I love those, James.
Dune Part 2 would probably be my number 3 for the year.
Mm.
I prefer the first one. My criticisms of the first movie more or less waned with subsequent viewings, whereas some of my criticisms with Part 2, particularly the shift in characterization between movies,
Yeah.
kind of remain the same for me on subsequent reviewings. But I mean, those two films together, we just don't get things like that outside of Marvel anymore. So I gotta appreciate them for that.
Pretty
And I
impressive.
kind of hope that Villeneuve can sweep the Academy Awards again.
He is. They are not nominated. So
They're-
this was going to be something I brought up.
Oh,
They're
yeah?
not nominated for like
A billion.
a lot of awards.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think Hans Zimmer was disqualified because I guess it borrows a lot of work from the first movie,
That makes sense.
which there's an argument for either side. I could see both sides.
Yeah.
Like the reason why.
I mean, yeah, that's
But from what I've been reading, Dune 2 is not nominated for.
There was so few good movies that the Academy Awards, they were like, we gotta hold you
we
back.
gotta give them a chance.
Yeah, we gotta give everyone else a chance.
Yeah.
Which also makes sense because the first one basically swept
Didn't it? Yeah.
every category, didn't it? So, nevertheless.
of the Wild
Oh wait,
moment.
maybe I was misinformed. I think I got fake news.
Oh, you got fake news?
Oh my
It's
god.
nominated for every single category?
It's already won every single category.
Actually, it's the Academy Awards, guys.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, I guess I got misinformed by TikTok.
Oh,
Oh,
never.
that's
trust-
where you get
never
your news from.
trust anything on TikTok.
I got brain rotted.
Never.
Okay,
trust
so it was just a score, I think.
Okay.
It was officially disqualified.
Which
But everything else is still open for.
There we go.
debate.
Which, I mean,
All right.
like,
This is
depending on
Return of the King.
your interpretation of the Oscars and what it should be, I feel like either way it should be
Yeah.
nominated and probably win.
Every category.
Yeah.
No other movie had the pull that it did.
Yeah.
No other movie made waves like it did. No other movie's as good as it is.
Yeah.
Like,
No other movie really became a meme this year like it did.
Yeah.
yeah. Like, there's so much going for this movie, and it's probably going to get like 2 awards.
Yeah.
Just because the Oscars are going to be like, oh, people like a movie? I can't
that
nominate.
must
That
mean it's
can't win.
bad.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
can't win an award. But regardless, you guys interested in a part 3?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Just
this movie made me want to read all 3 of the books.
You've
And,
read all of the books.
They are. I haven't read. No, I will not read the.
You will not read
Frank
the-
Herbert
yeah.
or the
Brian.
son Brian.
Yeah.
Anyways, next movie
Next movie.
was Me and You. This was still before Claire came on full time.
No, I think I was like sick or something, or it was something that I couldn't come join with you guys to watch.
I don't
Whatever it
remember.
is.
That was a long time
What's
ago.
the movie?
Civil War.
Yeah, I couldn't go. I think I was out of town or something.
It was in
Was it-
April.
There you go.
I think I wasn't in town or something. There was something that kept you guys went to go see it, and I was like, well, you guys need to put something out. So
Yeah.
anyway, continue.
Civil War, a movie that we had different expectations heading into, and we both enjoyed more or less. For me, it's my top 3 of the year. I'll say that. I think it's like 2 or 3. I think Dune 2 is probably number 1. I came away from this movie like flabbergasted on how
Yeah.
good of this movie could have been. Considering I had very low expectations, bar a really, really cool like final showdown at the White House.
Yeah.
Like from Modern Warfare 2 is what I was expecting. And the hour 45 before it kind
Yeah.
of just really impressed me. Left an impression for sure.
This movie is my number 1 for the year.
Yeah.
That tracks.
I mean, I've seen it
It's a
multiple
good
times
movie.
since. It's a good movie. And although, yes, the ending of the film left such a massive impression on me when I first watched it, having rewatched it, that first half, the first 2/3 of the film really like stick with me even more as well. There has been a lot of criticism leveled against this movie
Yeah.
in the time since, mostly about its portrayals of journalism, which is completely understandable. In a year like 2024, it's understandable that people would, want to find the fine line between how you portray something like that, especially given that this is a science fiction film about an imaginary civil war.
Yeah.
You know, you had on one level the people who couldn't understand that it wasn't a legitimate civil war,
Yeah.
trying to say that California
Yeah.
and Texas would team up, you know, or something like that. And then on the other hand, you had the people who were like, well, the movie is trying to make a commentary on journalism, but, you know, it contradicts itself or it's hypocritical or blah, 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 all that stuff. I was just impressed with Alex Garland's directing
Yeah.
throughout the entire film, in my opinion. That was just what left the biggest impression on me, both in the like small, quiet character moments and the actual ending of the film. When I looked at everything that came out this year, nothing left as big as impression on me as this one.
Just a very cohesive movie
Yeah,
that, like, when we were watching in a theater, just enhanced the experience so much. And I don't, especially this year, I can't think of a movie that made me feel as tense as it did,
Yeah.
specifically in two scenes. The one with Jesse Plemons
yes.
and then the one with the snipers.
Mm,
Those two scenes alone were like,
yeah,
I could be like, I was like, holy shit, like this is good. Like,
yeah,
for a guy
Yeah.
like Alex Garland, who I knew nothing about and I
Mhm.
had never seen any of his movies, for him to do something like that to me, I was like, yeah, this is a guy who knows how to direct.
yeah. And sadly, it's going to be his last one.
Unfortunately.
The Jesse Plemons scene did become a meme this year as well.
Yeah,
I should
yeah.
shout that out. Yeah,
how
with
you
his
know a movie's
pink
good.
glasses. Yeah. Well, you're American, but what kind of American? But yeah, my number one for the year. I'm not going to bury that lead.
And then we got to the 100th episode, which was a movie that you and I have seen many, many a time, have talked about many, many a time, and decided to indoctrinate Claire into the fan club,
Yes.
Yeah.
which was Heat, Michael Mann's Heat, the classic. How'd you feel about it?
I mean, that was an experience. You know, I think
You felt the heat?
I felt the heat.
Yeah.
Ironically, I think one of the only movies on this entire list that I actually have watched more than once this year,
Yeah.
if only because it happened to be on TV when I was hanging out with my dad in Dallas.
Nice. Nice.
So we watched Heat. I mean, yeah, it's just a damn good movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's really like just, you know, like we break these down obviously in the reviews and stuff when we talk about it there, but like at the end of the day, it's just a damn good movie.
There's
Like, it's
something
just-
to be
there's just
said
something to be
about
said
just
about it.
quality,
Yeah.
cohesive,
You know?
fundamental filmmaking, as James's laundry finishes.
Yeah.
That just kind of leaves you fulfilled.
Yeah.
It's like, here's the ending, here's the beginning, here's the ending. Just
Mhm.
that's it. That's
Yeah.
the story. I don't need 15 episodes. I don't need a
Mm-hmm.
prequel. I don't need a sequel. Like, this
Mhm.
is just the movie.
Yep.
2.5 hours in this world. You're in, you're out. That's it. And movies like that, especially in the 90s, were so, I mean, quite frankly,
Yeah.
they're just fun to watch.
I think that's how I would describe this movie is it feels like its own little world.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
every time I've watched it, I get more into the details of it. I know we talked about that before we showed Claire,
Yeah.
that there are a lot of like character moments that you're not going to want to see in an action film.
Mhm.
And then every time I've rewatched it, I'm like, I want those
You
character
want
moments.
those.
Yeah.
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 Like the diner scene when they're all with their wives and significant others.
Mhm.
And like stuff like that. It's really good and touching.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, what can't you say about this movie other than, you know?
That it's bad.
I was just going to say.
I realize I walked myself into that one, but
Yeah, so that one's an S tier. Oh, I guess we're not giving rankings out for these.
we're not really. Yeah,
Not
we're
really.
just kind of chatting. If you want the
Yeah.
ranking, watch the episode.
Yeah, go watch the pod. The next one was a monkey movie. You and I had watched
All of
up
them.
to it.
Yeah.
This movie, we had watched them all. We didn't talk about it on the pod, but that was Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
which-
and then I went before
think
we went to watch
Mark's-
this. I went and watched everything too.
Yeah. I think we watched. Did we watch one together, or we like caught each other watching the same one on different days or something like that?
Yeah, that was the
I think the last one. or
Dawn of the
something,
Planet.
right? War.
Yeah, no, yeah, War of the Planet of the Apes is
Yeah,
what it was. Yeah.
James watched it, and then I was like, "Shit, I gotta watch it." So then I watched it the next
Yeah.
day, and James came in and was like, "Oh, you're watching it?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah."
I mean, another. I'd say this is another just like
It's
good
a
film.
it's a summer blockbuster.
I
Yeah.
completely forgot it came out this year.
yeah.
It's a summer blockbuster.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not
Like,
as
it
good as the
wasn't-
first three.
No,
No.
But I mean, it's an enjoyable movie. I would
it got
probably
memed
never.
to hell and back.
It
Oh,
did get
absolutely,
memed to hell
yeah.
and back. I probably would never watch it unless it was on TV or like
Yeah.
somebody in the background was like hey, you want to put this on while we play board
Yeah.
games?
Yeah.
I'd be
If
like,
they
yeah.
came out with a box set of all 4 movies, I would buy it for the other 3.
Yeah.
But I would still own it.
yeah. It's like people with Back to the Future Part 3.
Yeah.
They just want 1 and 2.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's really all I
I
have
think
to
I
say.
think I
That's
gave it
really all
like
it
a
has to be
B
said.
or A on
Something
that
like
one.
that.
Yeah.
It was good, but you know.
Next summer blockbuster, Furiosa, Mad Max Saga. Did you join us for that
I
one?
wasn't
I think
able
you were
to
out
join
of
you
town for
guys.
that
I
one
was
too,
out of
right?
town or sick or something. Yeah.
I remember having expectations,
Yes.
but being hesitant about it. I don't know how I would describe it. Like, I had heard that it was different,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't know what they would do differently. What the movie ended up doing differently was a complete change in actual, like, cinematographic style
Yeah.
compared to the first one, but it ramped up the characters like past 11.
This
This
made it more
movie-
character focus.
This movie has the craziest characters you could possibly imagine. Every single time you think this guy's kind of insane, they introduce an even more insane character from that. And then once you think, man, this guy's really insane, he does an even more insane thing after that.
Classic.
Like, this movie just, it exists.
It's a film,
That might
alright?
be one of the most damning thing James ever says about a movie is when a movie just exists.
Compared to the first movie, you can't do that. It's so different. It's
Yeah.
almost unfair. And it's a prequel too.
Mhm.
It's not a sequel. Looking back on it, I remember actually feeling like Anya Taylor-Joy was probably the weakest actor, and now I think that she probably stands out the most compared to everybody else. Maybe because she's not insane.
Other than the Hemsworth brother?
Other than, yeah, I think it's Chris Hemsworth.
Yes.
Who just I don't know what rent was due for him to put on that performance
It was
in that
wild.
movie. But
Have
yeah,
you seen the first one? The first? Or
Yeah,
I
I
guess
saw the first Mad Max. The most
the
recent one that
Fury
wasn't
Road, I guess I
Fury
should say
Road,
first
yeah.
one.
Yeah, I saw that.
Furiosa was definitely the biggest experience I think I had in the movie theaters.
I actually disagree. I was a little let down with the theater experience, which is
Yeah.
the first time I think I've ever said that, where I'm like, you could watch this at home.
That's understandable. I think for me it was more so just like the world itself, you know.
The world itself was cool. It was just I mean, go watch the reviews, obviously. But
The first
there's a lot of
movie-
issues I have.
The first Mad Max Fury Road had so much personality
Yeah.
in how it was directed. This movie had none of that. And that was the biggest letdown for me.
Do you think this movie would have been received better if it was released 5 years ago when it was originally supposed to with Charlize Theron?
Probably.
Do you think this movie's
Yeah.
a better movie if that were the case?
I don't know. Because I would
Yeah.
have to know what they would have done differently, in my opinion.
I mean, even just that avoids like all the COVID crap. That avoids the writer strike. That
Mhm.
avoids that. Like, I think it might honestly have been better, even if like technology wise, it might not have been, just because there's so much crap that's happened in the
Yeah.
last like 5 years.
Yeah, that's
You can just make that argument for anything. Like,
hmm
That's a good point.
What comes next?
So we celebrated a birthday with Alien,
Yes, we did.
Mhm.
and then we watched Richard Linklater's Hitman, starring Glenn Powell.
Hitman. That was a fun one.
That was an A movie for me. I love that movie.
That movie was
that was a
great.
great
Yeah.
movie to watch and just put on for I think an hour 45, 2
Yeah,
minutes,
something like
2
that.
hours.
It was short. It was sweet. I just had a blast with
Sweet.
it.
There's a lot of weird stuff in it, but it's
Yeah.
a rom com, so like you
Yeah.
expect a lot of weird stuff to be
Mhm.
coming out of it.
And I think that's a point in its favor. It's a rom com that like at the on the box you wouldn't be like, oh, this is a rom com,
Mhm.
and you watch it and you're like, I mean, I guess.
Yeah, that's basically my reaction to it. Is to just be like, all right, you're going here now.
Yeah, like
Make this cute somehow.
there is romance and there is comedy,
somehow it works.
Yeah.
Somehow,
and it just
Sometimes
You
works.
know what? Yeah, it just works.
sometimes it somewhat works.
That's my number one this year.
Really?
No.
Oh,
I wanted to see your face, and I want to hear James scoff in it.
it wasn't gonna be in my top 5, but I mean, it's a good movie. I enjoyed it. I think I gave it an A.
Yeah, I think I also. Yeah, it was just fun.
James?
you know? I think James
How'd you
gave it
feel
like a
about
B
it?
or some shit.
I don't think James liked it.
It was fun to watch.
That's James's two most like glaring like
Oh my
you
God.
failed as a film is you exist and it was fun to watch.
Go on to the next movie. Move on.
Next movie.
Okay, go on to the movie after that.
No, we're talking about everything.
All right. So this movie, is it's a divisive topic on the podcast.
Oh, it's
Off camera.
Yeah.
It is the source of many a debate between the three of us. That is Chinatown.
All right. So
Say your piece.
my dad and I love this movie.
Uh-huh.
It has a reputation for being one of the greatest scripts ever written.
Yeah.
There are, I think, social, like cultural reasons for that. I think I talked about it on the podcast. It's about California, about Californian history. Hollywood is in California.
Yeah.
Of course, Hollywood loves it and props it up. But the script itself, in terms of the structure of its story, uses a lot of interesting narrative devices, particularly like, I wouldn't necessarily say symbolism, but I guess that's the best word. It's like synecdoche in a way, I guess, where it's like one individual scene will kind of tell you the entire story. And you can, if you analyze that scene, you would understand the plot.
Yeah.
Very, very cool technique. A lot of movies actually do it. But Chinatown just has the most, like, I never would have thought of that kind of example of it. And my dad and I love it for that reason as well. So I thought it would be cool to show you guys this movie because we took screenwriting a lot of time in college, and you are an aspirational writer to some extent.
I feel like that was an insult.
Oh, I don't know how much writing you do.
No, I know, but it's like, continue.
It's the old Mayday thing where it's like, you're not a writer, you work as,
Yeah.
you're a restaurant
It's like
server.
the scene in Serpico where he's like, I'm a cop, I work at a police station. And all the other writers are like, I don't have a job. But at the end of the day, I understand why you guys criticized this movie for the reasons that you did. I still think that it is worth talking about how the story functions and how it unfolds and how the scenes themselves inform the narrative and like the theme, right? In my opinion. Now, after our podcast came out and my dad watched it, he had some thoughts on your guys'
Sure did.
opinion. So much so that he mailed us two copies of a book about the history of water in California
Yeah,
called Cadillac Desert,
right there.
which also has a documentary as well.
Right in the middle.
You did the reading.
I did more than my assigned reading.
You
actually.
read like 6 chapters.
Yeah, I read the extra stuff, but he was like, if you want to read this,
You did not do.
I did not know.
You did.
Yeah.
You are a bad student.
and I believe
His
on.
hope was that it would, for you at least, his hope was that it would help you like inform the history behind the movie itself. For you, his hope was that it would help you be a better writer. But you haven't read it yet, so that is to be seen.
Don't really write anymore, but yeah.
Yeah.
he thought that book would help him be a better writer.
When you rewatch the movie with all that knowledge and context.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Because I was saying like that book is not very well written.
Well, you read to not learn writing styles. You read
Yeah.
to
Well, I mean,
just
sometimes you do.
gain knowledge.
Hey, you can also learn
Yeah,
what writing
say,
styles not to write in.
Yeah, true.
That, yeah.
Hemingway. Anyway.
It is. I
Steinbeck.
think this
love
movie
We just
is.
I thought we were just naming authors.
Yeah. Because I agree. I think this movie deserves to be talked about, and it needs to be talked about because
Yeah.
it does do a lot of really cool things. Because I don't think we ever were like, this movie is bad. We were just like, it wasn't for us.
Okay. In my defense, go watch the pod. You'll see I have receipts for this. My defense. No, it's the same opinion I've had
Yeah.
since I watched
Yeah.
the movie. Is
Yeah.
The first 30 minutes are just not interesting to watch.
Mhm.
Everything posts like him actually like once he gets chased in the citrus farm or whatever. Everything after that, peak. Loved it. Great movie. The ending, one of the greatest endings. of all
Oh,
time.
so
I
good.
see why people talk about
So
it.
good.
I see why people still talk about this movie. What is it? 50 years later now.
Mhm.
The first 30 minutes killed this movie for me. Where I'm like, it's good, it's great, but like
It's not rewatching levels
Yeah.
of great.
to me at
it's
least,
fast forward rewatching.
it shows its age to a degree.
Understandable. It's also directed by Roman Polanski.
Yes.
Which you got to put up with if you want to
yes,
rewatch
yes,
it.
yes. There's a lot of that in it where I'm
Yeah.
like, I like the good parts, but it just takes forever to get to the good parts.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was my issue with the movie. I think I still gave it an A.
Yeah, I
was
think we
like,
both did.
This is a celebrated movie. Should be a
okay.
celebrated movie. Should be
Mhm.
revered in Hollywood.
Mhm.
I understand the water thing. Like, I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
Water was scarce. There was a lot of fights between municipals and counties in Southern California. I understand that. But, like, just because you know the history of something doesn't make something better.
Yeah. So this goes directly to you, Mr. Harding. I
God.
did a project on the Arizona water system. I know how this all works. I knew it all going into this movie. I knew a lot of the information in this book already. I still did the reading, mind you. I knew it all. It changes nothing about the fact that I did not enjoy this film.
Have you rewatched it since?
No.
Maybe we
That's
should
which is
So-
technically
so-
still something I have to do. I
Yes.
recognize that.
There you go.
Maybe we'll do
Um,
it. We'll do a year anniversary of
Yeah.
our watch.
Yeah.
We'll do a
But-
year rewatch.
I am emotionally intelligent enough to know that it's not going to affect my opinion of this movie whatsoever.
Well, maybe you're just not intelligent enough to know that it's still.
Like I know myself enough to know that with the information I've digested, none of it was like so groundbreaking to me. Where I'm like, oh, of course. Now I'm like, I knew this.
Maybe.
It's not going to affect my opinion of this film. Where I'm gonna be like, a lot
I
of this
should
was boring.
also admit that when I think of Chinatown, I think of it purely from like the writing point of view.
Mhm.
The history doesn't mean anything to me. I know that knowing that can help you inform what they do with the writing. That like is what elevates it. How they incorporate the history into it, and then dramatize that history.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But outside of that, I mean, I still think it's a well-written script.
We watched this movie in July, and we are still having this debate.
We have this debate at least once a month.
Almost every single time one of us points at the book.
Yeah. I mean, every time that I came over while I was reading it, I started complaining.
We got to move on.
So yeah, that
What's-
was Chinatown. Go
Yeah.
watch that podcast
My number one.
because we break it down a lot more on why. Yeah, I still get an A.
Yeah.
We watched a movie me and Claire did for the first time. You had seen it before, but rewatched it for the first time in decades, and that was the Blair Witch Project.
Oh yeah, the Bologna Witch Project.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say Bologna?
Yeah, the Bologna Witch Project.
Popular movie. I think all three of us, or at least
We
me
all
and
enjoyed
you,
it, yeah.
we saw why it was so popular.
Yeah.
Scary.
I
almost put
you
myself.
immediately. I could feel you. I was sitting where James was at for that episode, and I could feel you tensing up next to me.
Yeah.
I
I was
personally
freaking it.
was not as scared, but there were still moments, specifically the one where they find the whatever it is, I think it's his ear or tongue.
Oh, the teeth.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
Um,
The bits.
that part, that was like, yo.
Yeah.
Or the part where there's the rustling at the middle of the night and what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those parts are really good. We had a lot to say about that movie.
We did.
I gave it an S tier. I
Mhm.
think. I think we all did.
It was a good episode. You should
Um,
watch it.
Where would you guys rank the Scooby Doo?
The Scooby-Doo. I liked it.
I enjoyed
Except
that a lot.
it was 15
It was
minutes.
so long.
It was way longer than it needed to be, but it was good.
So long. Yeah, it's a top 5 movie for me, for
Yeah.
sure. I can see why people like it. I see
Mhm.
why people gravitate towards it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want into that?
No, I mean it was. It's one of those movies where, as I watch it, I'm like, man, I wish I wasn't so much of a scaredy cat, so that I'd want to watch horror more often.
Yeah.
And
Which
then we did.
I think
And then we did.
inspired us to continue
yeah.
moving on in our alien podcast.
And I regretted it ever since.
um
And then
Next was
Well, next was a
next
movie
was
that,
another summer blockbuster.
yeah.
The one I was most excited for, other than Dune, was Twisters.
oh yeah, Twisters. I love
Which
that film.
We had no intention to review it, and then I watched
Yeah.
it, and you guys were like, "How was it?" And I was like, "I mean, I think we should talk about it."
Yeah.
So that James and Claire went to go watch it by themselves in
Mhm.
theater, and,
and
I had a great time. I
Yeah.
love this movie. I think I've seen it 3 times.
It was a. I knew that we had a banger on our hands when we walked out of the theater, and James was dead quiet, and I was giddy, and I was like, "That's how you know. That's how you know this episode's going to be an absolute certified grade A banger," and it was.
It was. It was so good.
I really got to start making thumbnails again. That was fun.
Some would say Glenn Powell is the leading man of Hollywood now.
Yeah.
I'd agree. Yeah.
I think I'm there for everything he does now.
Mhm.
I think this last year in Top Gun Maverick have just solidified me in the Glenn Powell camp.
He's
So-
a certified grade A banger.
I gave it an S.
I think I gave it an S, but I'm pretty sure I was like, this is a fantastic film.
What'd you give it? Do you remember?
Probably lower than this.
I'm pretty sure we had a fight. I think
Yeah.
we almost came to blows with James over this film.
We definitely had some disagreements over some narrative
Again, go
elements.
watch that podcast.
It's a good episode.
We celebrated another birthday with District 9, which I had seen for the first time
It's true.
in its entirety. I'd seen bits and pieces here and there.
Mhm.
I loved it. Loved it. Great science fiction movie. I can see why people
Fantastic
still talk about it this year. Neil Blomkamp somehow has not replicated that movie since. But we still are holding out hope that one day he'll return to glory.
I think Elysium is pretty good, in my opinion. The Matt Damon one.
I haven't seen it.
That's just my opinion,
I
though.
haven't seen it either.
Oh yeah.
Did you
I
like
did
the
see Gran Turismo.
Did you like the shaky cam parts of District 9?
Yeah, I've seen it before.
Then you would love Elysium.
Who doesn't love a good shaky cam?
Considering
It was a joke, James. It was a joke, James. It was a joke,
As I
James.
hide behind the mic.
Call
Yeah, I
that-
think I gave it an A or S tier or something like that. Something
as it deserves.
pretty
yeah.
high, pretty high ranking. Was Parasite the first time we watched
It's
it?
the first time I'd seen it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we had seen it many.
we watched
times.
it at the request of my sister.
Yes,
Yes.
that was a one for you, one for us kind of pod.
Thank
So
you, Bridget.
That was the one for Bridget.
Yeah.
And the entirety of
fan,
the
shout
Alien
out.
Isolation pod.
Yes.
And the entire
For all of our Korean Spotify listeners.
Yep.
the 15 that watched that episode.
Yeah.
Shout out to you guys.
Yeah, appreciate
How
it.
did you feel about that? Did you have any expectation going into it?
No, because I remember I was kind of just like, yeah, we're gonna watch this. We're gonna watch it. I don't know. I heard it was big. Yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And I remember loving it. I was like, this was great.
Mhm.
I think it was on my list of things to talk about actually.
Was it a top 5 for you?
uh,
Honorable mention? Top 8?
I put it was within my top 10, which
Yeah.
I mean, it's in there somewhere. I didn't rank them.
Yeah.
I just
I
wrote
didn't
down
rank them
10
either.
things that I enjoyed, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna call that a day.
I only ranked 3 anyway.
That's how
I know what my number 1 is, and I'm gonna call that good enough.
I think the first year we did this pod, I was like, I'm going to rank them. And then I was like, this is stupid. I'm just going to put them in a list.
Yeah.
Especially since we include stuff that we stuff that didn't come out this year and stuff that we watched outside the podcast.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
You also finished another piece of work that
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know if you want to save it here. Or you want to save it for the TV segment, or do you want
I
to?
mean, we can talk about it because it's what we covered, right? We're talking.
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that. So, I mean,
You
like,
watched Breaking Bad.
I've
You
finished Breaking Bad.
Yeah. Breaking Bad,
After
sorry.
we made fun of you.
Sorry,
After-
we
after-
bullied Claire for a good
A good
5
while.
minutes.
Um,
that video clip still cracks me up every time I watch it. It's like, wait, you haven't seen Breaking Bad? I've seen 3 fits. 3 fits.
It was specifically that you had watched 4 seasons and then stopped.
I quite literally stopped right before like the biggest climax
Yeah, right when
of the
right when Hank took his dump on
Yeah.
the toilet, you stopped.
Yeah. I was just like, wow.
That's awesome.
And I mean, that's probably with like that's top 3 for sure for this year. I mean, that's just
Not for television or just in general?
just in general.
Yeah.
That was one of those pieces of media where, because like with shows, right? Sometimes I will finish shows really quick, just
Mhm.
because like I'm not doing anything. I have something on in my background. It is what it is. That was a show where I was excited to get home to continue watching it
Yeah.
when I was rewatching it. Whereas a lot of times
Listen.
I'm just like, I'm just throwing something up, right? I was like, I want to watch Breaking Bad. Like,
You know a show is good when you are willing to be 15 minutes late to work
yeah,
To finish an
to
episode.
finish it. I've done that for the couple of shows where I'm like, I gotta go to work, but also like somebody's about to die.
yeah, you're like, you know,
Have you started Better Call Saul at all?
not yet.
Have you
I've-
watched El Camino?
I've been saving those for when I'm down bad for good entertainment.
That's fair. You gotta give it some like.
Yeah.
You gotta
know?
give it some breath.
Because I know that I will just
It took me 2
voraciously consume them. So
years. It took me 2 years to watch El Camino and like 6 to watch Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
So as long as you do it before me, you know, you're pretty good company. But I will say Better Call Saul is.
Mhm.
I can see why people would say it's better than Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I would be in that camp too, but I can see both sides. Moving right along here. A return to science fiction for us with Alien Romulus.
Romulus was good.
That was a banger.
Yeah,
I
that
think
was a banger.
I was very not excited to go see it, and then watching it, I was like, "This is why can't we just make movies like?" I think
Yeah.
I literally said in the review, I was
I
like,
think you did.
"Why
yeah.
can't we just make movies like this?"
Yeah.
Romulus and Twisters,
Uh-huh.
the two genders.
That was a movie where all of us walking to the theater were like, there was like a palpable like nobody wanted to be here because like I was scared shitless already. Isaac and you didn't really have super high hopes.
No.
And then I think Sarah was also like kind of scared or whatever, and just kind of feeding out the energy. And we all walked out like, damn, like I was still scared shitless.
It's
We were like,
another good example of a movie this year where the ending really weighs it,
Mhm.
in my opinion, towards like my enjoyment of it
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah. Because you're like, oh, they're doing the fake escape. Like,
Yeah.
that's whack. We've seen this in every Alien movie.
Yeah,
And then you're like, holy shit.
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That movie.
I don't
gets,
want to spoil it, but yeah.
I will say though, like although I was somewhat hesitant going into it, having played Alien Isolation, that I think enhanced my enjoyment
Mhm.
while watching it,
Yeah.
just because of the amount of stuff that we're like,
They were like,
hey.
yeah, like
yeah,
The save point like beeping in the background.
yeah,
honestly,
Or
now
when
that,
he grabs the he's like,
yeah.
yeah.
I was like,
Now that we have finished Isolation, I feel like I need to go back and rewatch Romulus to like
Rewatch
just
Romulus.
really take it in
Yeah.
because you can tell it's heavily. It takes a lot.
oh,
from
it's
the game.
one. It's like a 1-to-1 carbon
Yeah.
copy, more
Mhm.
or less. Did you guys watch the sequel, Alien Romulus?
Nice.
You like that?
Good bit. It's a
Like
good one. Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot.
All right.
Quality stuff.
Our most popular pod of the year. I don't know if that says more about us or them.
Them.
Which one was it?
Almost certainly them.
We got a little tipsy and
Oh yeah, Borderlands. Oh
and
my
we
gosh.
watched the Borderlands movie. After much chagrin and Claire berating us for not listening more to her, we finally gave in and we're like, all right, we'll give you one. This was our one to you.
Yeah. I got 2 this year. I got 2 like
it was a movie.
you guys are gonna suffer and you're gonna like
I
it.
have nothing to say about this movie. It was I think I gave it an F.
What I will say about this film is that
It's an offense to cinema that
Yeah,
you just called it
no.
a film.
what I'll say about this movie is that it has a special place in my heart because it led to such a good episode.
To be fair, it was a good episode.
Yeah, because like even like ignoring like view counts or whatever, who cares about that shit? It was just like we had some of the most fun, just absolutely tearing this piece of crap apart while slightly inebriated, and it was so much fun. And I remember editing it and just laughing my ass off.
I remember I hit start on the recording and James immediately goes, "This movie sucks." I was like, "Wait a minute."
It was one of the only times I think I've ever seen James on his phone consistently through a movie.
Usually we try to have some form of like decorum
Yeah.
and like, we don't want to bury the lead and like, we got a formula that we follow.
Yeah,
James immediately going, "This movie not good." I was like,
It's
"All
just
right,
incredible.
throw it all out the window.
Yeah.
We're hammered."
So that was a
Yeah.
good experience for me.
I was sober the entire time.
Yeah, James was
Which is
still
funny because he had the
yeah.
most to say. Yeah, we should do those more often.
We should have done that for Red One actually. Now that I think about it,
In
we
the
should have come
theater.
back,
Yeah.
pounded a couple shots, and then started talking about it.
All right, let's go through the list here. Pulp Fiction we had all seen previously, so
Yeah,
that's
so
not
we
worth
were talking
mentioning.
about it. Yeah, good film.
Great movie.
Yeah.
The Conjuring, had we all seen that one?
It's first for me.
How'd you feel? You were not excited.
I think in terms of the spook, because that was the start of spooky season.
Correct.
I think in terms of scary movies we watched this year, that was the one that like hit me the hardest. Where I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to go home.
It does that.
Yeah.
No, that's
It's
why
like-
I love this movie
Yeah.
so much.
I definitely had trouble falling asleep that night. I remember that much, and I had trouble the rest of the week.
Wait till we watch part 2 next year.
Insidious.
I'm gonna. Never mind. I can't. Say that.
Sorry, you have a whole. You have what? 10 months to prepare.
I'm gonna
You'll
move
be
out.
okay.
I'm
You'll be
moving
alright.
states.
We watched The Grudge after that,
Grudge.
which was at my request.
Yes.
I had seen it before. I already had mixed opinions on it because
Yeah.
I knew there was kind of like a you love it or hate it kind of a movie. So watching it for the first time, I mean, did it affect you guys in any?
I was not scared at all.
I was a
was
little scared.
creepy.
It was creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked it a lot though. I remember coming away from it being like, "Wow, that was like really good." I get why it has the reputation it has.
Yeah.
Mhm. It definitely lays the foundation for a lot of other Japanese horror
Mhm.
works. But being Americans, we don't, we haven't seen the influence of that as
Yeah.
great.
Wait a
as
minute, you're
greatly.
saying their heads didn't get chopped off?
Yeah.
Oh man.
0 out of 10. This movie sucks. Take it back to Blockbuster, Mom.
And then we watched the movie that we should have been drunk for.
Yeah, that was a weird one. That was a weird one. Why did we do that one?
VHS.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That was
Well, because
weird.
it was like I was like, let's talk about anthologies because like horror anthologies.
We
a
were
big
trying
thing.
to cover all the genres.
We're trying to cover genres. VHS was like, it's a big franchise.
Big
We're like,
one.
we've heard good things about it. Might as well talk about it. Little did we know, the first one sucks.
That's what we should have done research. If you guys want to be one of our TAs who does our research for us, please.
This was
You don't get
definitely-
paid.
It was a
You won't
love
get
it or
credit.
hate it movie, and we were all on the hate it side.
yeah.
Yeah.
There was some good stuff. There was some good content in there.
There was
but
highs.
There was a
Yeah,
lot
it
of
ended.
lows.
God damn it.
Classic James Harding joke right there.
God damn it. It was good.
That's gonna be a clip. Calling it now.
There's a lot of creepy parts in this movie, and then a character opens your mouth, and like, that's more disgusting than what I just saw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Both because of what they're saying and how they're saying it. There's a lot of
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's
there's
a lot of stuff that
like
just
college
skeeved me
student
out.
level of filmmaking in this.
Anyway.
0 out of 10. Did not enjoy. Saw. This
Saw was cool.
was
What did we
y'all's
see?
first time seeing it.
Yeah.
My first time watching it all the way through. I hate you so much. We watched it for the first time. Was a little bit. It was a birthday of it as well. I think it was 20 years.
Yeah, something like that. It was right around that time.
I loved it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great.
and looking back on it, I think I like it more than I did when I.
Such a time
first finished
capsule
it.
of the era.
Oh, absolutely.
And just both a warning of what's to come in the
Yeah.
horror genre for the next like 7 years.
Yeah.
With either both the Saws, Hostels, all those weird movies.
Splatterpunk.
But the first one is so stylistically
Yeah.
different, like
Yeah.
in its construction of as a movie.
yeah.
And
It-
it's always fun to go back.
It had the amateur quality that VHS did, but it was far more endearing
Yeah.
than VHS
But
was.
it did in a way where you're like, wow, this is good versus wow, this is bad.
Yeah.
It's like VHS. It was shaky cam because they forgot to like rent a tripod.
Yeah.
Whereas Saw was a shaky cam because that's like James Wan's vision.
yeah.
Mhm.
Is he has like actual reason
Yeah.
to go to shaky cam?
It was a good movie.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think I gave it.
We
an A.
talked. We had a pretty good talk about it too. So
The only thing I didn't like about it was a little like. For me,
you don't do
But
gore very well.
I don't do gore at all. But other than that, John Wick we had all seen many
Yeah.
times at that
I mean,
point.
I saw 4 for the first time this year, but there's no reason to talk about that anymore.
Yeah.
Watch the plot.
10 Years of Interstellar. I watched it in IMAX. Cried again.
Classic.
There were times when Sarah was looking at me and I was like,
You're like, "Babe,
don't watch
look."
me cry. The ending, I swear to you, the ending, like nobody talked and it was all sniffles. It was pretty crazy to see.
Amazing.
It was cool. It was
Yeah,
cool to
that
watch
sounds
on
like
a
really
big
cool
screen.
theater.
If you got
Did
a
he
chance
die
to
when he
see
go
it-
into the black hole?
Huh? Did he die? Yeah, they actually changed the ending.
Yeah.
Was there one
I was
person?
surprised though because the audio it sounded like it was mixed like properly because
'Cause it was
I could
IMAX.
actually understand what
Yeah.
characters were saying.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was a
That,
good experience. Good
Did
experience.
anybody gasp when Guy Pearce popped out?
No, because I feel like a lot of the people who were in the theater,
probably had seen it
probably
before, yeah.
80%. By the way, it was a packed theater on a Tuesday.
Yeah, of course.
But I feel like 80%
They all
of the
knew
people had already seen the movie, so they knew. The humor surprisingly like came out in a theater audience. Like parts
Lot of
I didn't
laughs.
laugh at, people were laughing at.
it happens a lot.
Yeah. They wanted-
Good movie.
They wanted a little chuckle.
Gladiator 2. We're getting.
That's
Get-
very recent. Yeah.
We got 2 more after that.
I mean,
I enjoyed it.
it was a movie.
For a summer blockbuster
Yeah.
set and released in November.
Compared to the last Ridley Scott movie, I enjoyed it a lot more.
Mhm.
But yeah, it wasn't really in contention for me for favorite movie of the year,
No,
in my
close.
opinion.
no, I agree.
No. Twister was higher.
Yeah, I agree.
Twister was probably.
It was fun. I mean, it was a good movie. It was a good time.
I will say there's one thing we didn't talk about in our review of it was the opening credits.
That's true. Great,
Great.
the
They were
animation.
They were very beautiful.
So cool.
Yeah.
I just like when I watched it with the soundtrack, like that soundtrack, I would just could imagine like that's how back in the day they would tell stories. And like in your head, that's how you would imagine it.
Mm.
And it's like for me, that's like
That's actually
that's
how
a
they
good
animated
way to
back then.
set the atmosphere of a movie. What'd you say?
So that's how they animated back then.
God damn it. Yeah, I think I gave it like an A. I think I gave it a B.
They drew it on like a urn and then spun it.
That's actually where Beyblades come from. It used to be how they shared stories.
Beyblades.
And then there's Red One.
And then
We
what
don't need
comes
to talk
next?
about that.
It's pretty recent.
I'll say the next two because technically there's one more that's coming out today while we're recording this.
Yeah.
And I don't think we need to talk about either of those.
No, so that's all of our movies.
Yeah.
I think the biggest offenders were VHS and Red One and
Borderlands.
Borderlands. But unsurprisingly, a pretty mid-year.
Yeah.
in terms of-
There were
Definitely.
some bangers. There were some pretty good
Yeah.
bangers. But I feel like a lot of those bangers were ones that didn't come out this year.
There were movies, of the movies that came out in 2024, a lot of them had great moments in them.
Yeah.
The only movies that really like stood out all the way through were Civil War and Dune Part 2 for me, personally. And that's just the stuff that came out this year. Obviously, we watched a lot
Or
of
like
other
movies that like captured the wave, like Twisters.
stuff. Yeah.
You know, people actually
No, it was
resonated
Wave,
with
actually, it
for
wasn't Wave.
months. But yeah, that's everything we've watched together. So
Anything you've watched on your own?
who wants to start? I got a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, take us off.
I really just got one. It's a
As a
document. Well, okay. So one of them is Flight. It's this is the vein of
I saw you
love-
watching it earlier
I
this
love
year.
Denzel Washington. I recently rewatched Flight for the first time in like 5 years.
Mhm.
Still one of the greatest movies of all time, or one of my favorite movies of all time. I think probably like a top 3 Denzel role.
Yeah.
I think it's like Coach Carter, or not Coach Carter. Sorry, that's Samuel L. Jackson. I think it's Remember the Titans. I think it's probably Training Day, and I think it's this one, or like the 3 that I think of when I think of Denzel. Just a really solid, like I said, with Heat, like
Yeah.
2-hour movie, just in, out. You learn something along the way. You're done.
What'd you learn?
Don't do alcohol.
I was gonna say, don't drink, don't drink and fly.
Yeah, yeah. Don't do coke. Drink vodka cranberries and tequila sunrises before you're supposed to get on a plane.
Yeah.
Especially if said plane is gonna be going through some choppy weather.
And if you're a pilot, I would assume. Just in general.
Yeah. That's a good
Just
one
wanna
too.
throw that out there,
Yeah, no, thank you. You looked out for me on that one.
Any pilots watching this? Take that. He did our advice.
And then my second one is The Alpinist, a movie about a climber, a French Canadian. I think he's French Canadian.
I saw you watching that earlier this year too.
Marc-Andre Leclerc, who I watched because Alex Honnold, the climber who does
Free Solo.
Free Solo, which Free Solo is my favorite documentary of all time. But he was talking about it on a podcast about how good The Alpinist was and like how crazy Marc-Andre Leclerc was. So I was like, all right, I'll watch it. I watched it and I was like, holy shit, this might be better than Free Solo. It's not, but
Yeah.
it does do some cool things and there is a cool story in there,
But-
even though it's very sad.
Between like including nonfiction and fiction, the rock climbing and like alpine climbing genre of movies, it's like good every time.
Yeah.
Because it's cool to watch people climb shit. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be for real.
Like I can't think of like there's Free Solo. I haven't seen The Alpinist, but there's Meru. There's Touching the Void. Like there's not a bad movie
There's the one with
in
the
that
guy
genre.
who does the Don Wall. I forgot his name.
Oh yeah, that's right. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because him and Alex are friends,
Though. Hmm.
and they're in each other's documentaries. He like got kidnapped in some Middle Eastern country when he was young. I don't know. That movie's a trip. Great movie though. But yeah, I watched that one and it was pretty.
Have
it was
you
pretty
seen
good.
Have you seen Free Solo?
I have not.
Are you afraid of heights?
I climb for fun.
Oh, okay.
Free
So
Solo's really
you were good.
I love
Good to
Free
go.
Solo.
It's a great movie.
Maybe we'll do it next year.
Something to talk about.
We don't really do documentaries.
We
Not
know.
very often, no.
We should start venturing into that. I can't
We
remember
could.
the last documentary we've done.
I can't either.
We've done historical events
That's true.
Yeah.
as fictional pieces of work.
Yeah.
Let's do a Supersize Me.
Recommend some documentaries. Super
The
size me.
most unbiased
Yeah.
documentary of all
Is this
time.
my PE class in high school?
No, it's
Let's just
actually
kill
my-
the mood. We'll do what is it, Blackfin?
We'll do The Cove,
Yeah. Oh gosh.
which I did watch in high school
Sorry.
for a class.
Yeah, those are the only two that I watched outside the pod that I could say is an honorable mention.
Mm-hmm. James, you watch anything?
So my number 1 is Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
My number 3 is Doom Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
My number 2, because I wanted my number 1 to still be a movie that came out this year.
Right.
Yeah.
But my number 2 is Stop Making Sense, by
Oh,
Jonathan
okay.
Demme,
Nope. Yeah, that's
which
what I figured.
is essentially my top 3 favorite films of all time.
Yeah.
Regardless.
You watched it like 2 weeks ago.
I've watched it so many times since.
Jesus.
So
James is me when I discovered Interstellar.
Yeah.
just gonna be honest. There are very few movies that I truly feel like I can say are original.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can take all the context that is made into this, because obviously films are made of other films, and the Talking Heads have influence in their own music from like funk and hip hop and African music, and the presentation of their performance is inspired by a lot of theater, particularly Japanese theater. But even with all of those other influences swirling together, the film is such an original experience. Like, I don't feel like I can really say that about too many other movies.
Mm-hmm.
The ones I can are all musicals, interestingly enough. So I feel like there's a theme going there. Singing in the Rain would obviously be like the first one. It's like Singing in the Rain, all that jazz, and then Stop Making Sense. Like those 3 movies are like the most original things I feel like I've
So what I'm
ever
hearing
seen.
is that the best way to make an original movie is have it be about music in some capacity.
Yeah, basically. I don't know what it is. And what's funny too is that those movies, like in all of them, it's not just like the music itself, it's the presentation of it, right? Like in Stop Making Sense, it's all about the presentation.
Yeah.
And it just works so well, in my opinion. I don't know if it's just like it touched something that like I personally had wanted to see, because it's like the lyrics don't like resonate with me particularly, and I had never listened to Talking Heads prior to this. But like the movie just works, in my opinion, on so many levels, and the music is so good. The music is so good.
James is in there when he closes his eyes.
I was like, he's effectively doing the when you're like twitching your hand when it's good food.
It's
You're just like,
so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
the
it,
happiest I've ever seen James.
it's my number 2 for this year. But I mean, it's one of my favorite films I've ever seen before, in my opinion, easily, and it's so rewatchable. It's such a short movie.
Obviously, you've seen it how many times in the past
we'll
3
have to
weeks?
cover it next year.
Well, it's not just rewatching it, but listening to it, because
okay.
it's on Spotify,
Yeah.
because it's a live album anyway.
Gotcha.
So, and the music is so good. You can just listen to it. But
we'll talk about albums next year.
maybe
Maybe.
we can do
We'll start
concert.
branching out into music.
Yeah.
Probably not.
We
I don't
all
like
have
music.
3 distinct different genres of music we listen to, but
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a terrible idea, but
I'm not going to make you guys listen to any metal. Don't worry. I watched this film for the first time in October. Talking Heads were number 5 on my Spotify Wrapped.
that's impressive.
yikes,
That's impressive.
that is very impressive.
That is how much I listened to that album, because it's so good. And it's just that album too. I mean, their like studio albums are good, but the live versions are just like phenomenal. The fact that most Talking Head fans agrees that it's their best album, it tells you everything you know. But anyway, that's just me, personally. But I mean, that's my top 3 for the year right there.
Yeah. Pretty good year for you.
Yeah, I feel like you had a pretty good one. Yeah.
That I can name 3 movies.
Yeah. Well, let's say I think last year you named 1. So
Fair enough. To be fair, I didn't watch much outside the podcast. I did a
No, neither
lot
did
of
I.
reading this year, but I didn't watch many
It's
movies.
basically our job.
Yeah.
Yeah, after a point, it stops being like something you want to do.
What about you, Claire?
I mean, everything that I have left on my list is books or games.
Yeah?
So if we're still talking movies, then I got nothing to
Nothing
add.
else you've seen outside the pod that you were...
I genuinely
fascinated
have
with, or-
not watched any movies that we didn't watch strictly for the pod.
All
Want
right.
to talk about books?
Talk about books.
What books do you have?
So I have 2. Let me double check to make sure I have this correct in my brain. Yeah. So I have 2. I have one that makes sense and one that might surprise some people.
Stop Making Sense?
Shut up.
I'm so done.
So the first one I'll talk about that I read this year that I think is formulative in some capacity was Neuromancer
Neuromancer.
on
Hell yeah.
recommendation of James.
Yes.
Um,
I had been recommending to you.
You've been recommending for a while.
long time.
And I finally got around to reading it, and it is. I mean, I think it is definitely like you would suggest that you had said to me many a times. It is one of the core pillars of modern sci-fi. I think.
It's not just the core pillar of modern sci-fi. It invented cyberpunk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like it. Like I don't think you can't give it to somebody who's fresh to the genre and expect them to be able to parse it in any capacity.
Which is crazy because
Yeah,
it's like the
because
first cyberpunk
because it
book.
started. Yeah, but like, I mean, it just is. There's not much to say other than just like go read it because it's just that damn good.
It's
Like, I don't
definitely
know how to
one
break it
of those
apart.
examples of like everything you know about the genre of cyberpunk. Essentially, it's like they at a certain point they're not even taking from Neuromancer anymore. They're taking from the stuff that's borrowing from Neuromancer.
like it's
William Gibson.
Yes, William Gibson.
as you read it and you keep that in mind, like okay, there wasn't this before this,
Hmm.
and you're like, wow, this dude came up with all of this shit. And like to us, it's a given, you know,
Yeah.
because like, I consume a lot of cyberpunk crap. I could talk about that for days. So like looking at it, being like, that was the start. This is the fossil. This is
Yeah.
the dinosaur to my like chicken. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I can't have
Be proud
nuggets
of who you
without
are.
this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's just peak, and it'll stick with me for a long time.
Would you be excited to know that they're currently filming producing a television show for
No.
on Apple?
Not at all. Not even remotely. Gonna completely butcher it.
All right. Well,
Would you read the other two
optimism.
books?
I didn't know there were other 2 books. I'll have to look at.
There are.
trilogy.
One is called Mona Lisa Drive, and I forgot what the second one is called. I
now,
don't
is it
own
one
them.
of those where it's like their trilogy by theme, or is it actual
Well, I haven't read
character
them.
trilogy?
I think
'Cause
it's
you know
probably.
how some authors are like, this is a trilogy, and it's
I-
like completely
I-
different.
I
I think it's
characters.
by
Willi-
association.
William
Okay.
Gibson, like all of his, he only ever writes trilogies. All his books are trilogies, and I think some of them are by character and some of them are by theme.
Yeah.
Like I know, I don't know what the name for the trilogy is called, but Virtual Light is the first book, and that one I think is more thematic. And then the one that Apple did do a TV show of, The Periphery, that one I think is more character, like focused throughout the 3 books. But
Yeah.
no, William Gibson is definitely one of those writers where you're like, how have I never heard of this guy when he gave me everything?
Yeah, when he's like the father.
Because
He's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
it's really like before him, there was just the philosophy of the internet,
Yeah.
right? As it was emerging way back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, people like Baudrillard or like, I know naming actual philosophers on this podcast
Yeah.
is going to get a reaction out of you guys. But like, those people had written about like how our interaction with the world is changing with the invention of the internet. And for him to take those and then essentially dramatize it. And then
Exactly, yeah.
everything you get after that, The Matrix, right? Akira.
It is, I think, fair to say that while he may not be the father, he's definitely like a parent of
He's
modern
a parental figure.
Yeah.
of modern transhumanism as we understand it.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, which is crazy because so many people subscribe to it without even realizing.
And the funniest part is you will never see a Neuromancer reference any deeper than the first line of the book.
Yep.
What's the first line of the book?
The sky above the port was the color of television of the TV turned to the dead channel. I think it's something like
Something
that.
like that. I mean,
Yeah. Oh yeah, we right.
Fair enough.
We're not gonna don't copyright us. Don't copyright strike us for reading from a
Can't
book.
copy-
you
Copyright
can't copyright
words.
us for words, yeah. The sky above the port was the color of television turned to a dead channel, yeah.
Let's go.
Very good. Very good.
James memorizes some crazy stuff.
You're surprised by that?
That was a statement. That wasn't a shock. That was just a
There
statement
would be
of fact.
times when James would be like, "Yeah, at the 15-minute mark of this obscure 1967 movie," and I'm like, "Brother in Christ, what the hell?"
Yeah.
Earlier today, the iPhone app Pandora Radio came into my head, and I was like, I haven't used that since like 2010.
Pandora.
Your mind's a
Yeah,
steel
the
trap.
Pandora Radio. Yeah.
Your mind's a steel trap for some things.
That's
That's just how it is. You know,
Um,
like flies the honey.
What's your second book?
Now, completely changing lanes here. Not really. My second book was also very like makes you think. I read The King in Yellow.
That's right.
I read, yeah, which was a you know, a book in the Cthulhu mythos. Some might say.
It is.
It is, yeah.
Some might say.
Those trying to be accurate would
Yeah.
say so.
99% of people.
Yeah. It's but like it's one of those.
It
'Cause,
was
like,
not written by Lovecraft.
yes, that's what
That I think is what trips people up.
that's what I was trying to go for. My brain could not process for a minute. So Cthulhu mythos, not from Lovecraft.
Not from America either.
Not from America, and it shows. Not in a negative way, just it shows.
Yeah.
And it was a book that I picked up on a whim because a couple of our friends and I have been playing a board game that involves Cthulhu mythos. So we'd been talking about The King in Yellow, and I was like, "Wow, this was on the shelf. That's crazy. That'll be funny to read." And I'm pretty sure I picked it up, and I like could not put it down. Like I voraciously consumed that, and it's just, I mean, it's trippy. You know, if like obviously we know Cthulhu and that whole old gods mythos thing is very like plays with your head, and it's all that kind of horror. But like it's crazy to read stories, and you're like, I recognize that these are scary, but like I don't understand why I'm so unnerved by these things that aren't weird compared to like what we've seen. Because like I was comparing it in retrospect to like the stuff we watched, right?
Yeah.
Like The Grudge or like The Conjuring, creepy movies, terrifying movies. I still think I felt more unease reading The King in Yellow than I did watching either of those.
I first heard of this book in a thread on the Horror Lit subreddit where somebody asked, what books feel cursed?
Yeah.
And the
Exactly,
top
yeah.
comment was The King in Yellow.
Yeah, it feels like the way that it's always been described in everything, where I'm like, this genuinely is going to like drive me insane.
Yeah.
And I recognize it's just literature; it's just words on a page. But reading it makes me feel gross.
I was gonna ask, what is more impressive to you guys when you're freaked out by books or movies? Because like for me personally, it's reading a book where I'm like,
oh yeah,
get this shit out of here, like,
because like
gotta hit it with some holy water.
with movies, you're playing on two senses. You're
Yeah.
playing on sight and you're playing on sound.
Yeah.
With books, you're just playing on technically sight, but it's really just more your ability to self-visualize.
Yeah.
And like, so I mean,
Yeah, because you
when
have
books
to,
are scary, that's all you.
you have
You're the
to
one
make-
making that scary.
you have to make your reader
Yeah.
fill in the blanks, which is so there's a talent in that.
I read a different kind of horror.
Stephen King.
No, I've read one Stephen King book.
No,
The
the
Stand.
horror that he reads is that he reads nonfiction for fun.
Yeah. No, that's my dad. Um,
I read nonfiction for fun.
That's scary.
Currently reading a nonfiction book.
where would you rate? What score would you give The King in Yellow?
Both
If
those-
it's Goodreads, you know,
Yeah.
you were talking stars.
Both of those books were like 5 out of 5 for me.
Nice.
I had no negatives other than the fact that I'm like, as with
Scared.
all literature, there are going to be down points where I'm like, okay, come on, like get to the next like exciting thing. Like,
Yeah.
Stop describing the tree. Like, let's go. Like,
You know, it's the tree is the curtains are blue because they're blue. God
Yeah.
damn it.
But yeah, no, both of those were certified top shelf
Mhm.
bangers, especially when you compare it to the rest of the crap that I read this.
Oh boy,
I read some garbage.
do I have some stuff to talk about? Because our friends started a book club at the beginning of this year.
Oh my god, forgot about that. Yeah.
Almost every book we read was terrible. I hated almost all of them,
Yep.
except for
How did they
maybe
pick the books?
Collective. We just made lists and we said,
Communism.
"Oh, we've heard this one was good." You know, we read "Never Let Me Go." The author has a Japanese name. I don't remember how to pronounce it. Ishiguro is his last name. He won the Nobel Prize, but I was not impressed with that book at all. We read Tender as the Flesh, which is a super popular horror book that I'd heard a lot of good things about, and I thought it was trash. We did read Annihilation, which is an Alex Garland movie as well,
Yes,
with
the one
Natalie,
with Natalie
Portman.
Portman.
Very different from the movie.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen the film, I would recommend it. That might be a good one to watch for the pod.
That would be actually, yeah.
And then I gave up
I've heard good things
because
about Annihilation.
I was like, none of these books, our book club basically petered out
yeah.
after that. Yeah.
What I love about the book club, this is a small aside, was that because I would get James's take on the books, and he was just constantly berating and crapping them out, and we get everybody else's takes on the books,
Completely different.
which were like, I mean, they were like, yeah, they weren't like as negative. A lot of them were like, yeah, this isn't good. But the one time I remember where everybody was like, wow, this sucks, was when you suggested a book, and they're like, it's really dry and boring, and I was like,
I forgot which one that was.
I don't know, I can't remember.
It
I
might
just
have
remember
been
them being like, we
Annihilation.
picked one for that James wanted to read. And I was just like,
I think it was
Did
Annihilation.
you read it?
no, I mean, I wasn't part of the book club.
Oh, okay.
I knew better. I didn't want to read
Because I had seen the movie, and I love
just
that
knew
movie.
who was in the book club and was like, yikes.
I had seen the movie Annihilation. I loved it, but the book was totally different.
Yeah.
And that caught me off guard. And everyone else who had never even seen the movie before didn't even have any like preconception for it.
Yeah.
So obviously they, even when I was kind of like, yeah, this is kind of not what I was expecting. It's understandable if everybody else was like,
This was garbage. Yeah.
yeah.
It was just
My
fun.
grandma liked it. I told her to read it.
That's all that matters.
For me, this year came down to one author.
Oh.
Not just one, not just books. And that is the author named Dennis Cooper, who I had heard for a very, very long time. If you're in the horror literature sphere and the extreme horror and transgressive literature, Dennis Cooper is like a mainstay there. I joked, before I even read a book from him, I used to joke that I was buying books based on whether they had a Dennis Cooper blurb on the front or on the back, like if he had reviewed it. Because he's just such an influential figure in that sphere. And so finally I was like, I got to read something from him. I read his 5-book, technically 6, series called the George Miles Cycle. I read the first chapter of the first book and I bought the other 5 because I was like,
That's a James moment.
this is just like what I've been waiting for, basically. And it wasn't just like the writing style or like necessarily, I wouldn't say like the content of it, but it in a way that I felt like I actually kind of connected with it in a way. Now, being that he is often lumped with horror and transgressive literature, there's a lot of unpleasant things that happens to people throughout these books of varying ages and intensity. But so much of the series itself was really about like identity and artistry and like the idea of obsession, to the point of like, people can have like an artistic muse, but they can also have like an obsession of like love in a way, and just the way that gets explored differently in each book, where there's like characters popping in and out and reoccurring characters, but new characters every book and new themes in each one. And they're written over this incredible span of time. The very last book was written a decade after all the other ones were. And these were back in like the 90s, where like literature like this wasn't super mainstream entirely. Like the fact that the biggest comparison he got was to William Burroughs, who was writing in the 50s, tells you just how much of like a precedent there was, or at least a lack of precedent. And William Burroughs was like on trial for obscenity for the books that he was writing, So that tells you more or less.
Yeah. He's a heretic.
I will say this. In terms of the content of the books, while Frisk, the second book in the series, definitely earns its reputation in the extreme horror community, the book after that, Try, it's understandable why few people get to that book, but man, does that just feel like illegal to own in a way.
I think I remember you talking about it when you were reading it, and you were like, this book makes me feel so gross and dirty.
I'm like, I am probably on the list. for having
I'm on a
bought-
list.
Yeah.
They make you sign a document like
Yeah.
what's that one book at Barnes & Noble? Or not Barnes & Noble, but I think it's like, I don't know. There's a book where you have to
Necronomicon?
sign like an FBI watch list.
That's
Anyways,
funny.
continue, sorry.
I mean, I bought it off Amazon, so, whatever.
They just,
You can
Jeff
get anything
Bezos
on
just
there.
has all your info.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you can, like, Dennis Cooper is in Barnes & Noble. Like, you can buy his books off the shelf. Like, they're not, like, intense enough for somebody who isn't into horror,
Forbidden section.
essentially. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend his books to anybody.
Who wasn't into that? Yeah.
Well, Dennis Cooper is gay, and he writes exclusively about gay men. And a lot of that has to deal with the S&M subculture in the gay community. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's a level within a level of, you're just like, even if you,
There's a lot to unpack there.
there's a lot to unpack there. Nevertheless, from Dennis Cooper, I discovered so many other amazing writers and books that have just like blown my mind one after another. Like stuff that I like actually feel like I connect with in a way, which I just never really felt that
Found
way
your
in
sense of
books.
purpose.
Yeah. So just for that alone from him, I'm like, this is, I mean, I own almost all of his books. I just haven't read all of them yet, which like, I don't know. That's just for me personally. That like, I didn't watch many movies, but I did read a lot of books, and that was just the most meaningful stuff that I felt like I really read this year.
Guys, if you want us to start a book club,
Don't make me a part of it because I will recommend some crazy stuff.
Yeah, I was just say I don't think again a book club would be a great idea because we all read drastically different things.
Yeah.
let's just stick to movies and games.
Yeah, I think that's
And TV
yeah.
shows.
You have any books you want to shout out?
There's a couple. There's one that you
Yeah?
gifted me. I think it was for Christmas last year that I finally got around. I got around to reading like around the mid-year.
That's right.
Was Another Man's Moccasins by Craig Johnson, the Walter Longmire
Mhm.
series. One of the books in the
This was
series.
back when you were possibly going to Montana.
Yes. And James was like, "Here, you need something to read in the mountains."
I just bought you a bunch of westerns. Yeah.
No.
And I was like, "Perfect. This is great." I read it, and it's one of the rare books that I put down. Never. I just like wanted to read it. I took it on my lunch breaks when I started working at the bank. And I would just read in my car. It's one of those books. It was very good, very fun, like old school whodunit kind of book. Nothing like super
Yeah.
serious or anything, but it was a good time.
Spoiler
I
alert.
enjoyed it. I can't spoil it. That's part of it.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Would you read the other books in the series?
Yes, I've actually been keeping an eye out for all of the other series. I've even thought about watching the movie or the show,
The show.
because Yellowstone is ending.
Excuse me.
So I need another Western.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie just or this book, I should say, kind of just like pushed me face first into Westerns.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought I wanted to be a space cadet. Now I'm a cowboy.
Now you're a cowboy. Nice.
But speaking of space cadets, I did read a Blake Crouch novel, Recursion. That's the second one I read of his. And I think he is now my favorite author
Yeah.
to read. Just something about the way the man writes words on pages just... Again, I could not put
Possibly the
I
highest
don't-
praise an author could
Yeah,
ever get.
Disclaimer.
I mean, damn.
Disclaimer, I do not read. I'm not going to pretend to read. I'm not going to be pretending to be well versed in authors or books or anything. So when I say that I read a book for like 15 days straight and didn't
Yeah.
put it down, I really liked it.
Books are to you what directors and actors are
Yeah.
to Claire.
Yes, exactly. I know like 5 authors and a lot of them come from movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, Blake Crouch, I think he's my favorite, he is my favorite author now.
Now those have gotten adaptations, haven't
Yes. So Dark Matter, the first Blake Crouch movie I've ever read, is on Apple Plus. I think it has Joel Edgerton and Emily Blunt, maybe. I don't know. And I think Recursion.
Thought about making that joke, but I decided against it.
God damn it.
they? One brain
I
cell.
think Recursion is getting an adaptation. I think they're in the works on doing that. So
Apple TV and science fiction.
Yeah.
I mean,
they found their
Silo.
niche.
I was gonna say. Do you guys have anything wanting or looking forward to? Silo is the one I'm
You
interested
think
in.
I know what's coming out?
Yeah, I'm not gonna buy Apple TV.
The one movie that's coming out next year that I was excited for just got delayed again, so I'm not excited for anything next year. Spider-Man.
Yeah, fair enough.
Oh yeah.
And then
I'm so upset.
the only other ones are the Dune books, Dune Messiah and Children of Dune that I read because watching Dune with you, I was like, "Fuck, this is such a great
Yeah,
world."
it's like, damn.
So I immediately bought those books on Amazon and read them in like a month.
Nice.
Which again, if as we
my
get
my books just got delivered.
Nope,
more
sounds like
books
it.
for James. And
Yeah,
then
I
let
need to
me
go book
take a
shopping.
quick look at my list.
Yeah, those are
here.
Christmas presents right there.
Yeah, those are the only 3 really that I had, or I guess 4 technically
Nice.
that I had. So I don't read a lot. I'm currently reading a book about the Texas Rangers, not the baseball team,
I was gonna say which Rangers?
the actual historical figures. And then I've been reading other various westerns. You gave me a collection of westerns that I've also been
I'm
dabbling
really
in.
glad that I could have made up for what I did with Blood Meridian.
I've thought about going back to not Blood Meridian, but another novel in that
Yeah, another.
ecosystem.
If it's from Cormac McCarthy, make it All the Pretty Horses.
I'll make it The
Do that
Road.
one instead.
I
The
mean,
Road, I feel like, is the easiest
I
one.
feel like if you're in the Western swings, you could probably more easily digest Blood Meridian.
I don't know. I tried to read Blood Meridian. I couldn't. For me, it was just.
I digested it.
It just
And
pissed
I
me
hate
off.
Westerns.
I just don't. Look, here's my thing about reading. And you can call me an idiot. You can call me a caveman. That's fine.
We know.
But if a man's words or woman's they just don't read for me, I cannot read it. I like if I have to think a lot while I'm reading words. It's not even making references to things or like using big words. It's
Yeah.
literally just sentence structure, paragraph structure.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's like no. That's why I will never read a Hemingway book. Why I'll never read Charles Dickens, who goes like 5 pages before he uses a sentence. Just is not fun.
One
You want to
of-
say something? What do you want to say? Just say it.
Just that you are entitled to your opinion. And it's okay.
One of my favorite Hemingway books.
Says the one who goes 3-hour movie. Meh.
One of my favorite
Make it
Hemingway
short.
books.
Yeah, exactly. Make it shorter.
I'm making fun of you. It's bait.
God damn it, you got me.
No, I understand how you feel. Because I also read a lot of stuff that's in translation.
Yeah.
And so one of my favorite Hemingway books is For Whom the Bell Tolls. And it takes place in
Oh,
Spain.
I love Metallica.
But all the Spanish-speaking characters, he wrote their dialogue in Spanish and then directly translated it to English.
Oh,
Gross.
that
And-
reminds me of Metro. Metro
Metro's
does that,
like
and
that, yeah.
I couldn't
Yeah.
get past.
I couldn't read Metro because
No.
of that. It's bad.
I at least appreciate that about Cormac McCarthy is he speaks Spanish and he leaves the Spanish in. He doesn't translate it.
Yeah.
He just lets you vibe
Suffer.
it. Yeah. He's like, if you know it, you
Context
know it.
clues.
If you don't,
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah. Google Translate.
Yeah.
Idiots.
Or just really invest yourself into the character, and they don't know it. You don't know it.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know.
There you go.
Just do what TV does and just put quotation marks.
But like with the-
English, like quotation or the brackets.
Yeah.
and do like little fancy text
Yeah.
so that everybody knows that it's.
Yeah.
Any let's talk about games. Well, you guys can talk about games.
Yeah.
You want to?
I played
TV
nothing.
before we get to
I
games.
mean, the only thing I have to talk about with TV is Breaking Bad. So
For me, I watched Fallout. Loved it. I think it won Best Game Adaptation at the Game Awards, which some would say is not the most prestigious award, including this guy right here.
But it won something.
But it won something.
I mean, I'm just glad it beat Arcane.
I'm just excited for. I just love Fallout. Fallout's my favorite universe
That's fair.
ever anything created.
Mhm.
I watched The Americans, the FX show, which made me realize, damn, FX really is goated. I watched the first season.
There was a period of time where FX and AMC were
They were
like
the deal. Yeah.
the level of HBO.
Yeah, right. And then the only other one I watched was there was a Sopranos documentary that came out this year,
I remember.
which just made me appreciate the Sopranos that much more. Yeah, there's only really 3 TV shows I watched, other than Yellowstone, which I mean, is just trash now.
Yeah, so- I rewatched a lot of stuff, but it wasn't anything worth talking about.
I don't think I watched a single episode of a television
Yeah.
show this year.
It's trash. TV
No,
shit.
I think I rewatched Helsing Ultimate,
nice.
There you go.
the OVA.
No anime.
I mean, yeah, we're
New
rewatch-
anime that you
yeah,
watched.
nothing new.
I don't watch anime. No.
Yeah, not anymore. That's some manga and stuff, but like,
Yeah.
there's nothing.
I don't watch anime anymore. Cut to 3 episodes. You guys went on like a 45-minute.
Yeah.
Okay, of stuff we talked about in the past.
No, I know. It's just
It's also like yeah, I saw some stuff.
yeah.
There's nothing that I was like, this is willing to discuss. You know, like,
Yeah, yeah.
there's no point in discussing
Yeah, that's
this
fair.
because the people who know about it know that it's a banger.
Yeah.
I'm not bringing up anything new. You can't really comment on it. James can't comment on half of it. There's no point in
I
talking.
can make fun of you guys for watching it though.
Yeah.
I make fun of myself for watching it.
that's
That's
fair.
why I don't.
All right, let's get to
But
games.
The games, yeah.
Just
So-
want to get the big one off the
No, what do you
the
got?
one we both played.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, but let's hear your take because I talked about it last year.
Did you? I thought you played it this year when you were unemployed, or when you
Wait, maybe we're
became
talking about different
unemployed.
games. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about Cyberpunk.
No, I played it last year.
Oh, I thought you played it this year.
I played. Yeah, I did because I like Cyberpunk. I played it both years.
Well, yeah, but I thought you played it for the first time this year. Ah, okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
Cyberpunk 2077.
it's
Fantastic
good.
game
Yeah,
now.
it's good.
Yeah.
It was fun. I enjoyed it. I think people on this pod know me when I say that games should be fun to play, not watch, and Cyberpunk is quite literally that. There's a lot of scenes where I'm like, skip.
Yeah.
But the parts you actually get to play, because you get to play a lot, are fun, and I enjoy that there's multiple ways to play in the world.
Mhm.
I enjoy that you can make a character one way, and then you're like, "No, this is whack," and just completely reset it without
Yeah.
having to reload a save.
Without having to do anything
I
crazy.
think there's a lot of cool stuff in terms of like the RPG mechanics.
Mhm.
You know, going down certain trees, kind of similar to my last point.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool stuff there. Mechanically, I mean, it's a first-person shooter RPG, so it's nothing
Nothing crazy.
new.
It
but
needed a lot of bug fixes to be where it's at today, and I think like it's great as a showcase of a labor of love
yeah,
because holy shit, 1.0 was unplayable.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean it's just
pretty good game.
it's a good story. There's
Mhm.
some really cool topics that are covered there that
Mhm.
like not the best at handling them, but like it does it in a way that the modern
Yeah.
consumer can enjoy.
It's a cyberpunk story, and
Yeah.
with that, you're gonna get the same tropes. You're gonna get the
Mhm.
same plot beats. You're gonna get, you know, lowly street rat feels
Yeah.
beaten up by the city.
I mean
Like
the
that,
fucking
those are in fucking Aladdin.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. part 1 is just Neuromancer unironically, but like
So there's a lot of familiarity with it,
Mhm.
but sometimes you just enjoy familiarity.
But yeah, I mean that game I picked up last year, and I want to say I talked about it during our wrap up because I was enamored.
You might have, yeah.
But you talking about it again this year made me re-pick it up, and I did everything you can do in the game. I beat every story, I beat every ending, I've got all the achievements. I have completely done everything you can do in Cyberpunk. Within reason. There's technically like mild branching paths that I haven't done, but whatever.
It's like
Oh.
Detroit Become Human, where there's like you look left, it goes down one path. You go
Yeah.
right, goes down another
Yeah,
path.
but I've did like every major branch you could do.
Yeah.
I've done every side quest. I've done everything. I've done it all. Yeah,
Fun
I mean
game.
it's one of the few games that I've ever perfected like that, and I think that's my biggest commendation is being able to be like, yeah, it's a damn good game.
Anything else you played?
Yes, I have 2 that I want to talk about. So the first one,
James, anything you played?
No, I don't think I played
did
some.
you play a video game this year?
Yeah, I played some Teamfight Tactics
Nice.
earlier this year with Matt, but
There you
that's
go.
about it.
So the first one I want to talk about.
Marvel Rivals.
No, hell no. My friends
Fortnite.
my friends have been trying to get me to play that, and I'm like, I don't play competitive shooters.
Oh, you're one of those good people.
I don't like how angry it makes me.
I don't play kid games like Overwatch.
No, like it just makes me into a bad person. I don't like playing them. But no, the one that first one I want to talk about. This one isn't. This one I'll talk about because of what it's done for me and the things that I like versus how good it actually is. But that's Space Marine 2.
Oh, I do remember you talking about
Mhm.
this. Yep.
So while yes, it is a good game. It's a very good shooter game. Honestly, my favorite part about it and what it's brought in this year was the fact that it's once again brought 40K to the fore.
That was gonna be what I was gonna ask
And
you.
like, while I don't paint a whole lot, I don't really hang out a whole lot. It's just nice to see this thing that I love getting a ton of
Yeah.
acclaim and getting new
I
blood
mean-
into the hobby, getting new people. Like I think that's cool. Like that's just,
How much of that do you think was also Henry Cavill?
That was
That's
gonna be
also part of
exactly
it,
what
yeah.
I was gonna say.
and I think that's like he jump started it. That made a lot of people interested in it. Space Marine 2 came out.
They're making a whole. Is it series or movie?
He said series, yeah, it's a
Okay.
show. But I think the cool thing about it is that like you look at Henry Cavill, right? You're like, oh, like little tiny little paints, whatever, etc. Like people kind of didn't really understand what the world was like, and Space Marine 2 was unapologetically
Yeah.
Warhammer.
Yeah.
You see a freaking a Cherum servitor within the first 5 minutes, and there were so many tweets day one of people being like, "Is that a baby with like metal pieces into it? Like, is that a corpse? Is that a baby's dead body as a robot?" And we're like, "Welcome to
That
Warhammer."
reminds me.
It was unapologetically the most unapologetic
Yeah.
franchise.
I saw a TikTok. So there's a Space Marine where it's just the head.
Yeah.
Into the what are they called?
Servitors.
Okay, it's just the head into like the robot.
Oh,
Body,
dreadnoughts,
right?
dreadnoughts, yeah,
Dreadnoughts,
yeah,
okay.
sorry, yeah.
So there's a guy who's just getting into 40K,
Mhm.
and he was like, "These are dreadnoughts. This is a fate worse than death." And literally all the comments are 40K fans being like, "Brother, this is like the greatest honor one can be bestowed.
yeah,
like you don't even know."
Yeah, people love dreadnoughts.
He's like,
yeah.
the guy's like, "Yeah, they like mutilate your body. You're just a brain in an armored thing. This is terrible for you. Like, you do not want to be this." And people were like, "You are literally one step away from becoming a god
Yeah.
as a dreadnought."
Like the dreadnought was one of the coolest parts of the game because
Yeah.
you just yeeted a statue at something.
And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds about right for the new 40K."
Yeah.
I mean, I say new like I'm well versed in it, but from what you've told of me.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
that
a
tracks.
dark. I mean, it's grim dark. It's in the
Yeah.
Yeah, in the grim dark future.
yeah.
Guys, if you
so
want to see a 40K playthrough, let us know.
I would love to do that. I mean, that game's only like 8 hours, and I could speedrun the crap out of it. So
We'll make James do it.
that's a decision.
I think James could do it.
I think James could maybe do it. You did play Modern Warfare, right?
Like the Call of Duties?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've played
Yeah,
those.
same
Yeah,
concept.
yeah.
It's just a shooter. At the end of the day, it's
Stealth,
just a
we've
shooter.
learned that stealth is not James's forte. It's
No.
more like
Not in video
Pokemon.
games, no.
Not in video.
Pokemon,
Only in real
Call
life.
of Duty.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do a Nuzlocke or something.
Oh, hell yeah.
That'd be fun. The other game that I want to talk about, this is the deep one. This is the one where like I came away from it like, wow, this has deeply affected my life.
Spec Ops.
Is this the one that you bought? Is this the one you bought like 2 days ago? Is it Spore?
No. I do love Spore though. It's a good game. So the game I'm gonna talk about is called Citizen Sleeper.
Citizen Sleeper.
And the elevator pitch for this game, the basic concept is that you are playing as a artificial human whose body is rapidly deteriorating, and every decision you make, because it's an RPG, every decision you make and every action you do
Ooh.
relates to you prolonging the inevitable of your body crapping out on you and getting off of the space station you find yourself on. And the gameplay is just clicking on things and having a bunch of dice that are rolled for you at the beginning of the day and deciding which dice goes where. And whatever value is on the dice is how good you do at each task. On the blanket surface, it is a very basic game. It tells one of the most like humanist stories and one of the deepest like character-driven narratives I think I've ever played in my life.
Humanist How So?
So like you're playing an artificial person, right?
Yes.
It plays with that concept of you like you're a person but you're not a person. You have memories of like what you maybe were before you were what you are, but you really don't. And it plays with this idea that like, are you more than what you were? Are you less? But at the same time, you don't run into any other sleepers. That's what the people are called, the
Yeah.
artificial humans. You don't run into any of them. You run into corpses of them, but you don't run into any alive ones. You only talk to humans. And how you play the game and how you make decisions affects which humans you talk to more, what they're going through, if you help them with things, if you don't, how they see you. And it's just like this just incredibly arching story with tons of different choices of you like either, screwing people, getting ahead, are you
Like
making
wait, like screwing
screwing
over?
over, screwing over.
Oh, okay.
um
It's like,
you know,
hey, yo.
yeah, screwing people over,
I
helping
might have to go
things.
buy this game.
Are you a machine? Are you a person? It's just I don't really know how else to like describe it other than like go play it because I finished
Yeah.
it in like 8 hours.
It's on sale right now, isn't it?
I
Super
think so,
cheap.
something like that. It was on super cheap when I bought it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Maybe
it's just
we'll check it out.
it's a very straightforward game. It's very simple, and it's just like it just has so many incredible points that make you just like, wow. I picked it up, I played it, and I did not put it down until I got until I finished it. Until the game put me back to the title screen, basically. I
That's
like
impressive.
every day until I finished it, I sat down and played that for like 8 hours straight. Like
Damn.
That's unemployment for you.
yeah. I mean, yeah.
I
would've done
Do you
a
feel
lot
like
to
it's
play.
affected the way that you see your own decisions in life and how you make
Like,
choices?
My greatest the comment that I made about this where I was like, this is the best way that I can describe how much I love this game, was that it is one of the only 2 games where you play as a machine, and by the end of it, I wanted to not be a machine anymore.
Whoa.
And for anybody who knows me,
I wanted to be a real
I
boy.
want to be a robot. like I the flesh's weakness. I crave the certainty of steel.
The flesh, what is it? Flesh rots?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bad news about the machine, about the mechanical. It also rots.
Yeah. The machine rusts.
Yeah.
The flesh decays.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna switch over to the divine. Bad
ro-
news about the divine.
The rock consumes us all.
Yeah. But yeah, one of the first first endings I could have gotten was you ascend to become like an AI, a pure AI, and I turned it away because I did not want to
Oh.
forgo the human connections that I made, which is very unlike me in these style of games. The first time I finished Cyberpunk, I took the I'm gonna become an AI ending.
Wake up, babe. New man, just new
Yeah.
personality just dropped.
So yeah, this game is it was the only 5 out of 5 of my video games played this year list. It they announced Citizen Sleeper 2 is coming out next year, and I made like a noise when I saw it. like it wasn't like, like I was like, yippee! I was just like, like I was just like,
Like a gasp.
yeah, just like enjoyment in
One of
its
those
raw.
anime like,
Yeah. But yeah, I highly recommend it. If you like narrative-driven
eh?
games without a whole lot of like actual gameplay behind them, I highly recommend it.
Is it more or less like Disco Elysium, but less?
It's like Disco Elysium.
but like less moving around.
Imagine Disco Elysium, but you don't get to see the roles, or like you see the roles that you're making. So like with Disco Elysium, you're like, I'm just gonna take it on a chance.
Yeah.
This is like, okay, I have 5 dice. I rolled a 6, a 5, a 3, and 2 1s. What am I gonna do with these today?
I might have to check that out.
It's really cool because like it makes it.
Concept.
Because like initially when I picked it up, because I saw it on a video, somebody's like, you should play this. I picked it up and I was like, well, what happens if you get all bad dice?
Yeah.
There's things that you want to fail, and there's ones where it's succeeding means that you put in a 1 or like a 2. So I was like, this is awesome. Like, I was like, you've taken RNG and made it fun. There were multiple days where I would
That's
get like,
cool.
I'd wake up and I get all 6s for the day, and I was like,
Yeah.
fuck, I need 1s. Like I need like 1s and 3s. Like,
Suffering from success.
yeah. And I was like, what do I do with these? Like I have no reason to have these.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So it's really cool. I love this game. I think
Any games you're excited for in 2025?
Citizen Sleeper 2.
I got 3.
I don't actually know what's coming out next year. I haven't been really paying attention.
What you got?
Yeah, what do you got? Tell us yours. Maybe I'll be like, oh,
Mine are Fable. I love the Fable franchise.
yeah. That's fair.
Fable 2 is my favorite game. One of my favorite games of all time. Played the shit out of it as a kid. So I'm excited to see what they do with it. If it looks trash, probably still gonna get it just because I love Fable.
Yeah, that's just,
Number 2, I think on the list is probably Civilization 7. I love Civ 5. Did not like Civ 6. Hopefully Civ 7 is a return to form.
trans girls everywhere. Excited.
And then the only other real one would be, I mean, this is kind of like a normie answer, but I mean GTA 6. Like I
Yeah.
love the GTA
Yeah, that's
franchise. I've played every single one of them from 3 onwards, and I probably am gonna buy 6 as soon as it comes out. Those are the only 3 that I am like.
That's fair.
Looking
what
out
else is coming
for.
out this year? Hand me your phone.
And then the only other one is the Ghost of Tsushima. The one that I'm interested in is the Ghost of Tsushima sequel.
What do you got here? Oh yeah, Monster Hunter Wild is going to be a thing. That might be
So.
fun. Assassin's Creed.
I don't
Doom,
really play new games as much as I
don't
used
care
to.
about Doom. I'm going to be real. The Dark Ages doesn't look that exciting. Borderlands 4 is going to be bad. Yeah, no, none of these are really exciting to me.
Yeah, we're in a weird space with games where it's not even like they're not fun.
I'm looking forward to. I'm looking
They're
forward
really not
to
fun anymore.
what I assume is going to be a couple good indie options. I think there's
Yeah,
gonna be some
there'll be
stuff
some
that,
stuff
that
out
there-
there.
There's some stuff that's on my like coming soon list that might come out next year.
Stardew's probably gonna come out with a new update that's gonna make me play it again for another 10 hours
Yeah.
straight. So stuff like that.
Like I got a couple like really cool indie Souls likes that I'm very excited for. That I'm like, give me a release date already.
Yeah.
There's a couple mecha games that I have where I'm like, those will be sick. I'm looking forward to announcements next year. I think is really what it is. Is like I'm like there's gonna be announcements for stuff that I have a feeling that things that I like are gonna be announced, and that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, like Assassin's Creed 18.
I was hoping like Armored Core DLC or something. But, like,
Any movies we're looking forward to? I have 2 as of right now in 2025 that I'm
What you got?
interested in. I am excited for September 5th, the movie about the Munich Olympics.
I remember that trailer. I also would like to
I
see
haven't
that.
seen Munich, so I think I'm gonna watch Munich before I don't know if I want to watch Munich before or after I watch September 5th, because I kind of want like a fresh, like what I don't know anything that's happened.
It's
during-
also, to be fair, a 3-hour. Munich is like a 3.5 hour long film.
okay,
so-
maybe not,
Christ.
only because it's a 3.5 hour Spielberg movie. and
It
I
is
can already
Spielberg, yeah.
See how that goes.
And it has
Uh,
some good cinematography in it.
The trailer, I'm really, the trailer really
I love the trailer.
drew me in.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna watch that in theaters. Maybe we'll do a pod.
We'll do a
on
pod
that.
on that.
See if we can convince Claire to do it. And then the only other one is Avatar. I love Avatar.
like the blue.
No,
Yeah.
the
Nice.
Way of Water, yeah. Whatever it's called.
Fire and Ash.
Fire.
He's
I
doing all-
should probably go watch Way of
He's
Water.
doing all 4
Yeah.
elements.
Yeah.
That's right.
Air, earth, air, water, or fire. I guess Earth is next.
Mhm.
Those are the only two. Only because I just want to see what he does.
Yeah.
I just want to see. Like I told you, I watched the behind the scenes of him building a 50-gallon pool,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then them putting like ping pong balls on top and like giving nose clips to the actors and being like, "All right, go act." And I'm like, "Fuck, that's awesome."
Already guarantee you, he found a way to make motion capture suits fire resistant.
Probably.
Yeah, yeah.
My man's cooking.
Honestly, literally.
His actors.
He does. James Cameron is
The
just
behind
one
the
of
scenes
those,
is just him with like a freaking flamethrower.
Yeah.
he's just one of
committing
those guys
war
that's
crimes.
so crazy.
Yeah.
I just love what he does for movies.
Absolutely.
And then honorable mention, I think, is the last Mission Impossible. Just I was watching the trailer for it, and I was like, these trailers are some of the greatest trailers of all time. Why can't every trailer just be cut
This
like
cool,
this?
yeah.
Like I'm watching Captain America, the new Captain America, and I'm like, this shit sucks. Like this is a terrible trailer. And then I watched Mission Impossible literally right after, and I'm like, yeah, just copy and paste that. Marvel, what are you doing?
What
Like,
was the last
they're
good
doing it for
trailer
you.
you guys remember watching?
The last good
I
trailer?
remember being obsessed with the trailer for The Revenant.
I can't remember.
Yeah, that's a good trailer.
Yeah. I was obsessed with that
I
trailer.
mean,
But I was excited for that movie.
trailers.
Yeah. Oh, Godzilla King of Monsters. That had an amazing trailer
That one was good.
That's a good one.
with Claire de Lune.
Trying to think. I mean, there's a couple that I can think of like for games because
Yeah.
like the Breath of the Wild trailers
Mm.
like
Oh, that's
made me
peak.
feel things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's peak.
Same with like Tears of the Kingdom. Like every time like because it'd just be the shorts or just the quick shots where it's just him dropping and then the music would start and you're like
Bum, bum, bum.
yeah. I think of like
Um,
Monster Hunter. Anytime the
I don't
hero
know.
swells up.
I mean, I just think of franchises that do good trailers, like Mission Impossible or anything really Tom Cruise.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, Licorice Pizza had a great trailer. That's one of the reasons I wanted to watch it.
David Bowie.
That's probably one of the last like non-franchise, non-action movie
Mm.
trailer that I'm like, this is good.
Mm-hmm. James, anything you're looking forward to next year?
Any
Oh,
music?
And Nosferatu,
Nosferatu, that's right.
Robert
yeah.
Eggers, which has already
Oh,
been
yeah.
released as the time of this recording or as the time of this releasing.
I'm almost certainly going to see it
But
over
we're
Christmas, but
You'll let us know
I-
if it's worth watching. And
Yeah.
then-
well, I'm gonna be there anyways. I,
Yeah.
I love Robert Eggers.
yeah, we should definitely review that when we come back.
He makes good movies.
Any movies you're looking forward to, James?
I mean, Nosferatu, but not that I really am thinking ahead of that. No.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
Anything for you?
Like I
kept
said,
an
the
eye
one
on?
that I was really looking forward to got delayed. I have one silly.
What was it? Did you say
Spider-Man.
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 Yeah, that got delayed again.
I'm over it.
All right. I'm not gonna take that bait.
No, I mean they're
I
good
have-
movies, but like, what are we doing here? Why are
I
we,
love him.
Why are we turning
I'm-
3 hours or 3 years between movies?
I don't know, man. Whatever, I'm sad about it. Let me brood. I do have one silly honorable mention of like I'm gonna watch this. I'm not gonna make you guys watch it because it's gonna be bad.
The Croods 3.
It's an animated movie.
It's not
Yeah,
animated.
Paddington and
It's
Peru.
we've seen the trailers a few times now. The assassin that turned into a realtor, and like that one.
Oh, Love
Love
Hurts.
Hurts.
Yeah, Love Hurts. I'm really looking forward to it.
Speaking of bad trailers.
Yeah. I'm like, this movie's gonna suck, but I really appreciate that we're getting a new wave of Jackie Chan style garbage.
I consider it kind of
I
still.
think Jackie Chan's made
Yeah.
pretty good movies.
I know, but like that kind of
For
like
me,
concept. where I'm
it's
just
still
like, nice.
that movie is still in the post John Wick garbage.
yeah.
Is what that is for me.
Yeah.
I'm just
Right.
very excited.
Like that one
First on
movie, The
ESPN, did
Beekeeper.
John Wick do irreparable damage to the action genre?
Probably yes.
I mean, that's what we should talk about next year. We should make James watch all the Rush Hours.
I've been pitching that idea.
I know, but I mean, like,
We just haven't had
should-
time to do it.
No. To be fair,
That-
we have both been
that
like, we
idea
should do
has
this. We
had-
just haven't.
That idea has had my signature on it since the conception of this podcast.
Yeah.
Literally.
James, we're gonna make you do it.
Okay.
I think
gonna
the
be fun.
third podcast I told James, I was like, you want to watch Rush Hours? He's like, no, not really. And I was like, all right, fair enough.
We're gonna sit down one day for like 6 hours straight.
All three of
We're
them?
gonna marathon
yeah.
all three of them.
Oh.
Nice.
We're not gonna do that. That sounds miserable.
That sounds like a great time. What do you mean?
Yeah.
I don't think you understand how much I've seen. Like
No,
those,
I keep-
those movies, the first two, I have seen more times than I like, and probably have been years of on this earth.
I mean, same. Like, I just forget that you guys are like, yes, I'm willing to sit down and marathon movies all day. I'm gonna get twitchy. I'm gonna want to do
Yeah,
something.
I mean, you know, we can go out, we can go get some food, we can take a little smoke break.
Any Any music, you guys?
I don't
For
pay
this
attention
year?
to music, dude.
No, honestly, I didn't even know Kendrick dropped an album until I opened Spotify.
Yeah.
So I'm so out of the loop. I
Yeah.
still haven't listened to it. I'm so out of the loop with music.
There's some good songs on it. Almost every band that I love dropped an album this year.
My problem with
So it's
music
just-
is that there's 15 songs on an album, and like I don't have time to sit through it. And listen.
Hey man, be a fan of metal.
So
You'll
what-
never have that problem again.
So what I do is I just
Right,
wait. I wait like a
No, you
month
still
or
don't
two.
have time. They're all like 6 minutes long songs.
They're longer than 6
Yeah.
minutes. I remember when people were like, man, Taylor Swift made it to #1 with a 10-minute long song. That's amazing. And meanwhile, all the metal subreddits were like, 10 minutes? That's
Baby dog,
amateur. Anyway, I want to give a quick shout out to the band Sumac, their album The Healer. I saw them live this year. One of the best concerts I
Where'd
have
you see 'em
seen. I saw them
What
at
venue? Stubbs?
Parish.
Parish.
I saw Bell Witch there last year, which was also an amazing concert. Sumac. It was just one of those things where it was like, you listen to the album and you're just like, how do they make these noises? And then you see them live and you're just like, how are you making these noises?
just
my
do
guy?"
that.
Yeah.
Did you go by yourself?
Yeah. And Steve Von Till from the band Neurosis was there too. I got a photo with him. Great guy.
Nice.
Great guy. I have the like whitest, dumbest grin on my face,
Classic,
and he's
yeah.
just super stoic. But like, I had been listening to shout out to Steve Von Till because his project, The Harvest Man, dropped 3 albums this year. But yeah,
That's
great,
a lot of albums.
great musicians, great live musicians. Sumac was incredible.
Musicians don't even drop 3 albums in a decade
I know.
nowadays.
And he did the Tritep. He
Unless you're
did, he
Taylor
did
Swift
3.
and it's like a goddamn Marvel movie.
No, it's one album, but there's 5 different versions of
Oh,
it.
yeah,
is
yeah,
what it is.
it's
Yeah,
yeah.
stupid in my opinion. But anyway, yeah.
no,
that's-
because she's taking back what's hers from the record companies. So
well,
it's empowering.
it is, yeah.
No, it's not.
Anyway, let's move on.
No, it's
Bill
not.
Surrey, if you're listening to this, please come to America, tour here. You guys,
If you want to get on the pod, please let us know. Contact us at hitplaypod.pod@gmail.com.
I would, I would love to have a podcast where it's like instead of making you guys watch one of my like weird art house movies, I make you guys listen to like
A weird.
technical death metal,
Yeah.
and you're just like, please end
Yeah.
this. Anyway, that's all I have to say
Any
for music.
resolutions for the new year?
Get a job.
It's a good one.
Survive.
Yeah.
It's another good one.
Yeah. No shit. Make it to this time next year, maybe. Let's go with that.
Yeah. What about you?
Not really.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a year for resolutions.
I-
It seems like a year for struggling.
I typically always just make my resolution read, just so I can cross it off day one.
Yeah.
That's all.
All right.
Trying to think of anything else happening in 2025. No, nothing fun, exciting in sports. We just had the Olympics.
Hopefully, it's a boring year.
It won't be.
Anyways, thank you guys for another year of this podcast. Thank you for listening.
Yes.
If you've listened to all of us rant and ramble about random things
And fight.
Yeah.
and fight
and
a
bicker.
lot.
Banter. It's
No, it's
banter.
fighting.
It's
There's been some
banter.
fights. We have banter and we have fights.
banter is like us making fun of each other at the
Yeah.
dinner table. What we do is like 30-minute conversations about why each of us is an idiot for
Listen,
having a certain
The only
opinion.
reason Isaac and I have not come to blows is because we'd get in trouble for it.
That's why I'm on this couch.
Yeah. Like,
As our
All
camera
right.
dies.
Alright,
Hey,
so, yeah.
told you guys we were
We're getting
going to
pretty
go
close
into
to
a
the
dead
end. All right. Anyways, yeah. Thank you guys. I don't know why I'm still looking at the camera, but thank you guys
Well, now
for
we're
a
gonna
great
stare at
year. Here's to 2025, whatever that brings.
don't forget to follow us on Instagram, hitplay.pod.
Hit the bell.
Subscribe,
Like, comment, subscribe.
please.
Let us know movies you want us to watch in 2025.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What are you excited for? What are you excited for the next year? And what was your favorite stuff from this year?
Tell us what we should play next.
Go watch Stop Making Sense.
Yep.
Bye.